A voicemail from Joe Biden to Hunter Biden has leaked, and it shows that Joe was calling trying to talk to his son about his business dealings with China, something he's repeatedly denied, saying he's never talked to Hunter about his business deals or anything like that. Wow. So corrupt, and the exposés keep coming because of Hunter Biden's laptop. I'm just going to start counting down until all the media outlets come out and say it's fake news. It's not really Joe Biden. It must be a deep fake, whatever. It's being reported by a NewsGuard certified outlet, so we will be reporting it. We also have big news. 1 million Democrats over the past year have quit the party and joined the Republicans. I think it's simple. I think people are quitting and joining the Republicans because the Democrats have lost their minds. However, some people fear what's actually happening is that Democrats are jumping parties in order to screw over Republicans in their primaries, which is just weird. So I suppose we'll talk about that. Plus, we've got this crazy story. People are freaking out over a bunch of these LGBTQIA2 plus flags lining some streets in the UK, which just generally kind of freaky. And then we have, man, this one's crazy. Well, I'll just put it this way. Instead of focusing on CNN and the psychotic things they've said, we've got the executive branch outright rejecting the judicial branch, the legislative branch doing the exact same thing at the highest levels of government. The federal government is being ripped apart over Roe v. Wade, and it's getting crazy. So we'll get into all of that. But before we get started, my friends, head over to StrongerBonesAndLife.com and pick up your ageless multi-collagen from BioTrust. Again, that's StrongerBonesAndLife.com. You can secure your supply of ageless multi-collagen for up to 51% off today. When you go there, you will get a 60-day money-back guarantee, the healthy aging support of collagen in its ideal forms. 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources, essential to optimally support an array of full body benefits. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides mean better and faster digestibility to support the maximum benefits. So collagen is what you need for your joint, your hair, your skin, your nails. And you may have noticed that I'm currently wearing a wrist brace because I think I broke my wrist. So I will be eating lots of this, and it's very difficult to use the computer. But I'm grateful that I have this stuff, and I will consume more, and hopefully that will heal up. So for every order today, BioTrust will donate a nutritious meal to a hungry child in your honor through their partnership with NoKidHungry.org. To date, BioTrust has provided over 5 million meals to hungry kids. Please help them hit their goal of 6 million meals this year. There's nearly no odor or taste, unlike bone broth and other collagen supplements, and no clumping. You'll get free shipping with every order, free VIP live health and fitness coaching from BioTrust's team of expert nutrition and health coaches for life with every order, and their free e-report, the 14 foods for amazing skin with every order, over at StrongerBonesAndLife.com. Shout out BioTrust. Thank you for sponsoring the show. But don't forget to go to Timcast.com, become a member, support our work directly. We put up an exclusive members-only show Monday through Thursday, and as a member, you will get access to that. You'll be supporting our journalists and our endeavors as we expand the operation. We're going to be working on some documentaries. Those are pretty expensive, but with your support, we can make it happen. And you're supporting our infrastructure. We are supporting companies that are building resilient systems to fight back against censorship. So support that alternate market. Don't support big tech. I know we're on YouTube, but we're working on a bunch of things right now. I can't say too much. With that being said, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show. And with that being said, we are joined today by Greg Ellis. Greg, who are you?
Who am I? I'm Greg Ellis.
Star of Pirates of the Caribbean.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, and a few other movies.
Other movies.
Yes.
What's like the biggest or your favorite movie you've been in?
I think the Pirates movies were fun.
That's cool.
Because you get to travel the world and you get to, play with swords and, tap into all of that kid stuff. That
rehearse with Penelope Cruz.
We won't tell that story.
Yeah.
Please don't tell that.
Did you guys shoot a lot on the boats?
Yeah, in fact, the first movie that we filmed, it was the first scenes we filmed were in San Pedro. And then the budget went up a little bit, and we were able to actually go to the Caribbean and around the world. Yeah.
So you've also written quite a bit. You've covered extensively the Johnny Depp issue, I understand, or
yeah, I wrote a book called The Respondent, exposing the cartel of family law, where I kind of talk about the legal system and family law in general, and
interesting.
The one branch of our legal system that doesn't provide a presumption of innocence or due process, which should, family law, and the silver bullet of the false allegation of DV, which was used against Johnny in 2016. And been following that case and talk about that a lot. And obviously, we've seen the jury's verdict, and hopefully we'll bring about change.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us. It should be fun. We also got Seamus Coughlin.
Seamus Coughlin. I'm Seamus Coughlin, wearing the same shirt you guys saw me wearing on Friday.
That's
I
right.
know, pretty terrible. But I promise I wasn't wearing it all weekend. We were traveling. Things got crazy. We were out in New York. It was a wonderful time. I'm Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes. We make animated cartoons, release one every week. We actually released 2 last week. And I just launched a website called freedomtunes.com. If you guys want to go over there for $5 a month, you'll get an extra cartoon each week. And you will also be supporting independent content and helping us get free from big tech.
Awesome.
Hot. Hey guys, back from New York City. If you didn't see the show, we did the Minds Festival of Ideas. And if you want to see the show, you at festival.minds.com. Not, of course, now after the show. There's a link from there.
James O'Keefe confronted Ben Burgess backstage, causing this huge commotion. And then on our panel, the whole thing was like this argument. You should have been there.
It was like WWF, like old school, well, WWE now.
Poor Tulsi.
It was hot. And
She's
Tulsi
sitting
is
between them just what is
going on? It was wonderful. Wonderful. Bill, thanks for putting it on, and the whole Minds crew and the Beacon Theater, everybody. It was just a fantastic event. It was great. Great to be there. I'm looking forward to the next one. And we'll see you soon.
All right. I am also here in the corner pushing buttons. I realize I never introduced myself either. I am Lydia. I'm Sour Patch Lids. All I do is push buttons and bring on the guests. We're going to have a great show. I'm super excited to have Greg Ellis.
I realized this a while ago, like I never say my name.
Yeah, I was like, wait,
ever.
I don't either.
Like I never introduce myself.
What's going on?
I'm just like, welcome to the show.
How are they going to know that your name's Tim?
Yeah.
I don't
They're
know.
gonna know.
Maybe they don't know my last name.
Oh.
Whatever. All right, everybody, let's jump into this first story. We were originally going to lead with the big political story, but then I was like, no way, we got to talk about this leaked audio. This is crazy. From the Daily Mail, exclusive, quote, "I think you're clear." Yeah, what does that mean? Voicemail from Joe Biden to Hunter about New York Times report on his Chinese business dealings proves he did speak to his son about his relationship with criminal dubbed the spy chief of China. Oof. Yo, man, I'm not surprised, and I kind of don't. Can it get any worse for Joe Biden, his legacy, his son? When this comes out and it's like, oh, here's audio of Joe Biden himself talking to his kid about his business dealings. It's a voicemail. I'm just not surprised. And I don't know if you can move the needle from like 0 to less than 0 in terms of like faith in this man as president. But let's read a little bit more. I'm fumbling around with the mouse because of my wrist is probably broken. So you'll have to bear with me as I'm trying to navigate this.
This episode is brought to you by Fumbly Mouse.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
That's our sponsor.
All right. President Joe Biden spoke with Hunter about his business dealings with a Chinese criminal and his son, dubbed the spy chief of China, a voicemail to his son reveals. So I'll put it this way. We'll play it in a second. Either this was the extent that Joe talked to Hunter. He sent him a voicemail and said, "I think you're clear," and that was it. Presumably, leaving a voicemail means you intend to talk to them in greater detail. So it sounds like this is evidence he did at least try to talk to his son and brought up the issue and told him he was in the clear. I think it's circumstantial evidence. They probably had a longer conversation about it. Let me play this audio for you right now.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call.
And that's it.
So
and I'm
shocking.
scrolling away because the next autoplay is Hunter naked, and I don't want to play that.
Oh,
No,
wow. I mean,
thank you.
shocking revelation that Joe Biden does know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, I know. I was
Yeah.
surprised
That
too.
is-
Well, that's a
Really
4-year-old
shocking,
phone
yeah.
call, I believe. So
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Fair enough.
I got a couple issues. They frame this as it's proof. They say proof in the article title, which it's evidence, like you said, circumstantial
No, this is
evidence.
proof.
Well, it could have been doctored, which it doesn't sound like it was. Could have been doctored.
No.
And also, there's no context. What is he even talking about? You're in the clear. What's he talking about? I don't know. Not
I
from
read
the
the
voicemail.
so I'll put it this way. Perhaps I would be willing to entertain the Daily Mail is completely lying to us about this, but the Daily Mail has the laptop. They've been going through it. The emails have been verified at the very least. The New York Times has confirmed this. It's a question of, do you trust your source? Well, NewsGuard says the Daily Mail is certified as not publishing false news. And what more can I say? If they say that they got this audio, they know the timestamp on it, they know when this article came out, what it was about, I think they've done their work and they've made the assessment. Now, you can choose not to believe it. That's fine. Sometimes news outlets lie, and quite frequently, in fact. I think this is more likely than not absolutely true, especially considering we already know that Joe Biden lied about this. Joe Biden was talking, asked like, do Hunter Biden, the business dealings, and he's like, oh, I don't talk to him about any of this stuff. And then photos emerged of Joe with Hunter and his associates playing golf or something. It's like, come on, dude. We know you're lying.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
That's right.
How did Daily Mail make the association here that he was talking about these Chinese associates when he said you're in the clear? From like, how do they make the extrapolation from the voicemail?
Joe called Hunter on December 12th, 2018, saying that he wanted to talk to him after reading a New York Times story about Hunter's dealings with the Chinese oil giant. Perhaps there's more to the call or more calls they didn't release. Perhaps they simply know the timestamp happened right when a big story specifically
he talked about
around
the article. Yeah,
he did
talking
mention
about an article. Yeah,
he said it in the text.
Yeah.
Like Joe actually said, just give me a call, nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. He says, I read the article released online. It's going to be printed tomorrow, 8:15. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So no, I think Ian brings up a good point. But I'm just going to say I believe the Daily Mail did their due diligence, and they have this stuff from the laptop. We know the laptop's real.
Is it true that Joe Biden flew Hunter to China on Air Force 2?
Yes.
So, okay, for him to be flying his son to China around the world, putting him on the board of Burisma, this energy company in Ukraine. And
Well,
then
I don't want to
he's-
say Joe Biden put him on that board.
Okay, maybe he didn't, but to say that this is that he's on the board, that he's been flown to China. I mean, he's flown to China, but that he's not involved with his business somehow is insane. I mean, that's involvement if you're flying the guy there.
Well, they shared a bank account.
Is this
Right?
confirmed?
Then that's
I've heard
completely
this.
insane. Tim said it multiple
Yeah,
times on air. I know that we have this phone call, which is great, but it just seems to me at this point we should be able to have an investigation. There should have been an investigation before this came out.
There will be when he's
Right.
not president, I would imagine.
You think so?
I don't know. If people want the political persecution, or if we just should do it regardless of political persecution ideals, like it just needs to be investigated because a sitting president.
My
is
first
lying
thought
to
was
us.
what you said, a little bit skeptical, but I'm still reeling from the fact that I think that audio is doctored, because that's Joe Biden stringing together quite a coherent sentence.
Right.
Without any
That's good evidence. It's not real.
It's not real. Yeah.
right.
If the Daily Mail was really trying to fabricate it, they needed to make him say "come on, man" a couple times, maybe some gibberish words or
Word salad.
word salad,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then I'd believe it. No, but it's 4 years ago, so he's only gotten worse since then. And the thing about Joe is that when you get old like him, you can probably handle a few hours a day, but what is it called, sundowning or sunsetting?
Sundowning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sundowning, as like you're awake for a few hours, you're spry, and then within a couple hours, you're just
Ready for a nap.
Yeah,
That
you
happens
gotta-
to me now.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Seamus.
Maybe you need more vitamin B.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, B12,
something, yeah.
B6.
Maybe.
Or maybe the healthy aging supportive collagen.
There you go. Hey.
That's for sure.
Wait, someone tell me more about that.
I know, right?
That's right.
It's wonderful.
Thanks for watching the show, everyone.
Flavorless.
Yeah.
It's really good. I have some in my coffee right now, by the way. My
Nice.
dad's been taking collagen. Apparently, it's extremely good for your skin. He's had skin reparations in his older, and he's 70, and he's like, man, my cuts are healing better now.
Dude,
That's great.
look at this from NBC News. They say, at the time, it seemed mildly noteworthy, but not particularly unusual. Then Vice President Joe Biden traveling to China on an official visit, bringing his son on Air Force 2. So it's like, this family is corrupt. And
We've known this.
yeah, I know. That's why I almost didn't want to lead with this story. And I was like, oh yeah, more leaks about Joe Biden being dirty. And
Shocking.
what's next?
What happens if there is more evidence comes out? I mean, what would you all want to happen?
Oh, he
to-
should be impeached outright.
100%.
So we had Troy Nails on, congressman from Texas. And I asked him, I was like, this might be a hard question, but should the Republicans win in November, will you impeach Joe Biden without me skipping a beat? He's like, yes, of course, absolutely. Joe Biden has done so much that at the very least is circumstantial evidence or probable cause warranting a very serious investigation. I think what we know about what Joe Biden's done is completely impeachable. And if not, I mean, criminal. So, we saw the Democrats come out and say that Donald Trump engaged in a quid pro quo with Ukraine. It was with Ukraine to try and dig up dirt on Joe Biden. The reality of the story is that Donald Trump uncovered Joe Biden engaging in a quid pro quo with Ukraine to fire a prosecutor who happened to have been investigating the company where Joe Biden's son was working. I'm not saying he did it because his son was working there, but those things are all facts. That alone is like Joe Biden should be impeached. He's on video saying he did it. He's laughing about it.
But he didn't do it while he was president. So can you impeach a president for something they did before they were president?
He was vice president. Yes. Well, I mean, he's lying about it. Absolutely. Absolutely. He should be investigated for it. The assumption is and now he's giving how many billions of dollars to Ukraine? So, I mean, that's just right there. The United States being like, oh, we got to give $70 billion to Ukraine. Oh, geez, I wonder why. Maybe it's because it's payback now.
Where the president's son was on the board of an energy company and the president's sending money to the country. This is so crazy.
It's just remarkable that we know these things to be true, but this country is so full of vapid, angry, ignorant, and arrogant people that we are stuck here with him as president. What do you do?
I mean, he's going to tell us to go back to the crown, is what he's going to say.
I say, I challenge you to a duel, you people.
You people.
All you sorts of people. I don't know who you are. No, I think, from the moment, I mean, I followed the primaries and it was clear to me that Joe Biden didn't stand a chance, and it was the DNC who picked, I mean, they picked him.
Yeah.
He was, I think he was 4th place in Carolina or whatever. So, and then, to pick Kamala as the vice president and to pick her because she's, quote, a black woman. It's like, well, why don't you just pick the best person? And even if it happens to be a woman who happens to be black, just let that just be there. And she can take some delight in, but same with the Supreme Court nominee. It's all, I don't know. I'm English.
It's devoid of principle.
Well, yeah, of course.
And logic.
Well, so Biden had promised, if I'm not mistaken, that he was going to select a woman of color to be his vice president.
That was the debate with Bernie, wasn't it, when he said that?
Yeah, and part of what's so hilarious about that is he obviously did it to pander to progressives, but I don't know a progressive who can stand Kamala Harris.
I know.
I don't know anyone that's ever told me they liked her.
So it was the worst possible pick. Exactly.
I met a lady and she was like, I love Kamala. And I was like, why?
You're the only person.
It's her laugh, isn't it? It's so endearing.
It is very
Let's be
It's very
honest.
contagious.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm at home.
It's like Hillary was bad. And then Kamala comes along. What's up with that? They're like,
It's because you hate women. That's what's up with
Right.
it, bro.
Oh, yeah.
What is a woman?
That's-
They-
I don't know. No idea.
With Hillary, it was
if you ask Kamala, you know what?
the Hillary thing was, well, the Obama thing was, there was identity politics about him being like the first black president, I think. And he was like, half black, half white, whatever. But then the identity politics really started grinding with Hillary Clinton when they were like, I'm with her. It was all about her. I mean, not that you can say I'm with him, but you wouldn't know which him they're
That's
talking
true.
about. Maybe it was just, but it seemed very much like it's her time. It's her time. And it wasn't like it's her time. It's her time. It's about the fact that
Which is such an embarrassing thing to say. Like mom said, I can play video games now. Like it's
Okay.
her time. Like it's her turn. This is just something she's just in line for.
It's funny because like with the Roe v. Wade decision getting overturned, I was just like, this is Hillary Clinton's fault, right? Like, so the old parable of this frog and the scorpion?
Mm-hmm.
There's a funny meme I posted where it's like the frog says, but now we will surely both drown, and the scorpion says, LOL, LMAO. I just thought that was hilarious because like, but it's basically, the frog, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know the story? The frog is like,
Vaguely.
there's a river, and the scorpion's like, help me across the river. And the
across,
frog's
yeah.
like, no, you'll sting me. And he's like, nah, I won't, because then we'll both die. And then the scorpion jumps on it. The frog's like, okay, good point. Scorpion jumps on his back. They start swimming. The scorpion stings him. And the frog's like, but now we'll both die. And he says, yes, but it is in my nature. Something like that.
Right.
So, like, Donald Trump got 3 conservative Supreme Court justices. That is exactly what you would expect the Republicans to do if they won. We knew that's what they wanted to do. They said they wanted to do it. So how do you prevent that? Well, Hillary Clinton was how you make it happen. People despise that woman. And so when Bernie Sanders was rising in popularity, the Democrats were like, better to nuke everything about our platform because it's Hillary's turn and Bernie's bad than to allow, to allow Bernie to win.
Imagine being Hillary Clinton and you couldn't beat Donald Trump, and then you see Joe Biden do it. Oh man,
Cringe.
that's
Wow.
gotta hurt her.
Especially
That's
with
gotta hurt
him
her.
not campaigning.
Yeah, yeah,
not-
like literally hiding in a basement. What did Trump call him? Joe Hayden.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's great, yeah.
He was learning his lines. Right. So the VP traditionally, right, runs for president. Can you see that happening with
No, yeah, that lady.
Kamala?
You're right. But
Well, Hillary
it is
Clinton did the same
interesting. But it isn't.
She would also go,
Yes.
Gosh, what the heck?
But you mentioned that the VP usually runs for president. Isn't it interesting that Joe didn't
Well,
after the Obama administration?
they said it was because his son died.
Okay,
that he
that's
couldn't do it.
understandable.
But they didn't want Bernie to win because that was like an insurgency. But, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg retired, this wouldn't have happened. Roberts would have been on the side of keeping Roe v. Wade. She could have retired. Obama could have appointed a liberal justice. Maybe. I mean, a lot of people said that, and I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe not, because McConnell still blocked Garland anyway. So I don't think Obama could have got anybody in. Maybe if she retired very early on. But the issue is simple. If Hillary did not run, Trump would not have won.
No,
if
Bernie
they
would
got
have won.
But not even Bernie, like anyone else. It's like Trump won by, I think, 88,000 votes across 3 states, which gave him a big electoral college lead. Hillary Clinton, it was her turn. She wanted it. Everybody should be yelling at her.
Or the DNC.
I'm still getting over the fact that the man who was on a reality show and went, "You're fired" every week became. I mean, did that really happen? And here we are now with this teleprompter president, who really, I've said for some time, he looks like he's just not cognitively all there.
He doesn't just look like it.
He acts like it.
Yeah.
And
Talks like it. And if it talks like a duck, walks like a duck, but you got a duck.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Quack, quack.
If the president speaks like he's mentally impaired, walks like he's mentally impaired, and has an expression on his face like he's mentally impaired,
We're in a lot of trouble.
we're in a lot of trouble.
This isn't a partisan thing either. This isn't like I would think that
It is. It's partisan.
Well, it is, but it shouldn't be. I mean, it's just a rational, reasonable. You look at this. Either it's an intravenous drip of vodka from 7 a.m, or there's something cognitively in decline with his brain. And I don't say that in a mean-spirited way, but he literally can't string a sentence together with that. And then occasionally the rashes of temper. I mean, when he was on the campaign trail, there was that worker on the factory floor who was just asking him about I think it was assault weapons.
Guns.
And he was like in his face and losing it. There was just a...
You know what it is? It's when people have like dementia.
That's right.
Or Alzheimer's, rage can occur because their brain isn't giving them access to the information they need. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to have someone say something, to know you know the answer, but be unable to put it together. So you just start very quickly being, I'm just angry. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Do you think those around him are like close in his inner circle are aware and know something that we don't about a medical diagnosis, or they just think, oh, he's just old and a bit doddery?
No,
bless
come
him.
on. They know more than we do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think there may be a diagnosis. I don't know. But it's not a secret. Everybody knows this guy's brain is completely fried.
And he's the
reality.
president of the United States of America.
He should be relieved of command. His surrender in Afghanistan was the largest military blunder in American history, I think. Probably. It lost
I mean,
how many 20
honestly,
that could, yeah.
There's a lot of mistakes we made in the United States, but I kind of agree. Abandoning Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without informing the Afghan security forces and letting it get looted by the citizens is just like beyond.
How does that happen? How does that happen with all of the chain of command? I mean, the generals along the way. Isn't someone going to speak up and...
Well, there's two ideas. One is the more conspiratorial, they did it on purpose. But then you need a bunch of evidence. I think the simple answer is Joe Biden sitting in the Situation Room, and his eyes are half closed, and he's going, and then everyone's sitting around him, and they're all looking at each other like, do I do something?
You heard him. We got to
No, they're just like, should I do something? What do I do? No, you didn't say it. I don't know what to do. Let's just get out of here. And they just get up and walk out, and they're like, I have no idea what to do. And so it's just chaos. It's also possible that Joe Biden says, we know that he was speaking to, I think, the G7, and he kept saying Libya instead of Syria. It's possible he meant to say, you got to evacuate the civilian airport. And he said military airport because his brain doesn't work. And they went, okay. For all we know, he was like, we gotta get people out of there. You gotta evacuate the airport, civilians,
But wouldn't someone have pushed back and said, Mr. President, we can't? I mean, that happens, doesn't it?
It's supposed to.
But maybe, I gotta be honest. I can imagine Joe Biden saying something. We've seen him speak. Imagine he's in the Situation Room. What do we do, sir? You gotta use the airport. You gotta evacuate. You gotta get them out. The civilians. And then they're like, the civilian airport, get them out. I'm like, okay.
I think you're being kind. I think he made a bad military command. He thought that because we said...
I'm saying his brain's screwed up.
Because we said we were going to be out by a certain date, he was like, virtue signaling. Okay, we said we were going to do it. Let's follow through. Even if 100,000 people die with their heads cut off, let's do what we said we're going to... Dude, it's wartime. You lie in war. You do what you need to do to get these people safe. And this guy is not capable.
I'm just saying, I think, you've got 2 airports. The military and the civilian. And he very easily could have said the wrong word. And then he gets angry. And so when someone said, sir, do you mean to evacuate the Bagram? Just do it. Come on, man. And they're like, okay, whatever. And then the military leaders, we've seen the Joint Chiefs, they're woke and stupid. So they're probably just like, I'm willing to bet the government is full of careerists who are just like, I am not going to stick my neck out. I'm going to give my few years that I have to do to get the medals, and then I'm out. Whatever Biden says is on him, not me. Just do it. No point in getting fired. Right? You got a crackpot as the president. He'll just go, what are you going to do? You're fired. And it's like, okay. I'm not doing it. Just do what he says.
People got to listen to Tim Kennedy talk to Rogan about this, because Tim went to Afghanistan with worked with, I think it was the U.S. Department of Defense, or he worked with the government to pull people out after the bedlam began of the surrender and the madness. And the media showed us like the planes coming in, the planes going out. You see people falling out of the planes. They're trying to hang on for their life. But what it didn't show is the surrounding area outside of the airport, where people were getting cut up, where women were trying to get their babies inside and they couldn't, so they're throwing them over what was barbed wire. And it was happening in mass for weeks. He was there for 2 weeks, 10 days, and he said it just kept getting worse the longer he was there, and then he left.
Maybe the issue is this. Does it really matter why it happened, but it happened? And it's Joe Biden's leadership that has failed us. And there's no reason to try and make excuses for why it happened other than to say, this guy's got to go. Yeah. He's got to be impeached, convicted. Yeah, some people are like, but then you get Kamala, and I'm like, I don't know, is ruthless better or worse than deranged?
It's right? better, way better.
I feel like it's this way. Kamala Harris may gut and loot the system for her personal benefit, but the system has to exist for her to benefit from it.
Good
Joe
point.
Biden's deranged. His son's a crackhead, and it's like, well, he could burn the whole place down playing with matches. So it's like 2 years of the crazy lady who's going to loot the coffers for herself. At least she needs the coffers to still exist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just want everyone to consider the fact that this is someone who, given their mental state, should not be trusted with a butter knife. And
That's true.
he has access to the button.
He killed so many
This
people.
is serious.
He's given like a plastic circle to butter his bread.
Like when he's doing arts and crafts, I hope they give him kid scissors. I
Yeah.
hope he has like the plastic ones. And he's doing arts and
That
crafts.
would be a great cartoon where he's like, dang, the scissors won't cut paper. What are they giving me? Come on, man. And they're like, Joe, you can't have metal scissors. Come on, man. Well, let's jump to the story we have from Timcast.com. More than 1 million voters, 1 million, leave Democrats and switch to GOP. Democrats urge Biden to change course to avoid being demolished in the midterms. Okay. With 134 days into the midterm elections, no outcome is guaranteed, but the new data is a fresh warning to Democrats. Now, many people are arguing that this is Democrats joining the GOP to sabotage the primaries. Perhaps. I think that's probably a tiny fraction of it. I think people don't think like that. The average person wakes up, they go to their job at the bodega or at the mall or the restaurant, or they're a carpenter or tradesman, and they're not sitting there thinking like, how can I sabotage the rival political party? They're just like, why is my gas so expensive?
Right.
I'm voting Republican this time. And that's it. What do you think? Why do you think people are quitting the party?
I think, driving up here, I was thinking about Youngkin and what happened with him in Virginia. And I think people, that vote transcended politics. I think parents through COVID had seen for the first time the education system, the disarray of that, the introduction of CRT to young kids, and sex ed to 6, 7, 8-year-olds, and they were just done, and their values just had it. So I think you can only drink so much Coca-Cola before you get, you just past it and over it. I mean, I was woke about 7 years ago, and you have to break through beyond that pre-existing belief system, and you do when you finally see enough of it and you go, this is nonsense. I'm being fed propaganda, not news, and this ideological extremism, postmodern progressive, whatever you want to call it, this intersectionality is so out there that, I said before, I didn't leave the left left me. And where did it leave me? In kind of limbo, going, well, am I, because I come from England, we don't have to affiliate. We don't have to, I'm not a registered anything in England. But in America, it's, it's obviously a very different system. And I just think people have had it. They've just had enough.
No, go on.
No, please.
I was going to say it's funny that Elon Musk posted that meme of the left moving further and further left.
And that was Colin Wright's meme, by the way.
Right, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Shout out to Colin.
I've said this. You've said it. Elon Musk is saying it. I just don't understand. At what point will the Democrats, will the liberals on the left realize there is a recurring pattern here where a whole bunch of people are like, the left is leaving me behind, and they're like, so what? Okay, Seamus is exactly where he's always been as a conservative.
Pretty much. I've moved a bit over the years on different things. I've actually probably, yeah. I mean, I used to be more libertarian, but yeah, pretty much.
Now, the point is,
socially for sure.
if with that Colin Wright meme posted by Elon, if we as like former left liberals are now being left behind, politically we are closer to conservatives than the modern left. What do they think is going to happen in terms of the vote? They'll cease to exist. They're lopping themselves off from political discourse.
I think what we're seeing here, and it's interesting that you mentioned Youngkin and those parents, because I think what they've done, possibly without realizing it, or maybe without caring about it, is they've turned parents, just writ large, they've turned parents into a voting bloc. And I don't think they've realized how unbelievably damaging this is going to be to them.
It's insane.
Because they've done it, and they've turned them all against them, and they've told them, you're terrorists, go away, we don't want to hear what you have to say. We have your kids now.
Well, we see as well, I think, from the alphabet, the identity politics eventually devours itself. And that's what we're seeing with the LGBTQ, it goes on and on and on, and they're fighting amongst themselves. And it's that, I don't know, the liberal elites, though, they're just going to keep living in their ivory towers and making money and pretending and purporting to be fighting for, the working man and disimpoverished neighborhoods. And when really it's quite the opposite that's going on. That's what I see. We live in the upside downs with a lot of moral hypocrisy seems to be rife at the moment.
There's Bill Kristol, right? He's a neocon. And he tweeted out something about how the Supreme Court is extreme or radicalized for overturning Roe v. Wade, when he actually wrote something like 25 years ago, an article saying Roe must go. So how is it that the neocons of 8 years ago all of a sudden are just agreeing with Democrats? Here's an example. The Lincoln Project. We are going to restore the party of Lincoln from, after Donald Trump. Donald Trump loses and they go, we're basically Democrats. We're just here to rag on Republicans. Come on. So these people who claim to be Republicans, claim to support these values, are now all of a sudden supporting Democratic policy and values. Like Jennifer Rubin's a great example. Conservative writer. And all of a sudden she's like, yay, Stacey Abrams, yay, Democrats. And it's like, do you have principles or are you just grifting?
Realistically, Democrat and Republican are just jackets. Anyone, just because you're wearing a coat with a name on it, a word on it, doesn't mean that it's going to make you think a different way. Doesn't matter what you call yourself.
But
those people are those people.
They are thinking a different way.
Bill Kristol was always looking for, he was a proponent of the war in Iraq. He loved the invasion and conquest.
And now Democrats have they have a higher approval rating for George W. Bush than Republicans do for some reason. But you have, my point is, these people are exposing themselves as never having actually believed in anything. Like, Roe is bad. It's like, bro, you wrote the article on why Roe must go. And now all of a sudden you're saying it's bad? Yeah, it's because you didn't like Trump. You didn't want to be a part of that, so you joined the Democrats. That's it. Now your ideology was always immaterial, irrelevant. You were just claiming to support things for the sake of making money. That's it. When you have that, you have the Democrats looking to young people and saying, we got to get their vote. What do we do? And they say, well, these people are in favor of a lot of really weird things, like they're castrating kids. And the Democrats are like, will we get the vote? And they're like, yeah, but you're probably going to lose all the rest of them. They're like, let's go for it. Now you have Loudoun County parents electing Youngkin because they're like, I'm out. Whatever this is nuts. I don't want to be involved in it. I think people are switching parties for that reason. And I think the narrative of it's to sabotage Republicans is nonsense. I think some do, but I think it's a minority, tiny fraction.
I agree with that. And Loudoun County, I saw some of those school board hearings. They were, talk about nuts. Mm-hmm. There was one, I think it was one guy who was entering and he got tackled to the ground and handcuffed and he was made out to be some kind of, neo-Nazi, alt-right, crazy person. Then you look into the story, you find out that his daughter was allegedly raped in the restroom by... I
think it was proven that she was, right?
Right, maybe, yeah. And that's the kind of thing where I think parents are looking at that and going, you know what, no, enough. The state shouldn't, or the government shouldn't step in and tell a parent how to raise their kid, and our kids should be safe, and that's values. Yeah. And I think the values of America, I have conversations with both sides and in the middle, and there just seems to be more reasonable civil discourse with people on the right. You know?
So we had this event in New York on Saturday. It was fun. The Festival of Ideas put on by Minds.com. And that is the idea. Can we bring together, different factions, different people to come and talk about these issues? And the answer is no, you can't. And I think the reason no, you can't is because the moral framework of the two factions has become so at odds with each other that you can bring people together, but they cannot. Well, I should say this. I think the left can't understand the right, but the right can understand the left. So I'll give you the example of the challenge. We had a panel. It was James O'Keefe, Tulsi Gabbard, Ben Burgess of Jacobin. He's a socialist writer. I think he's a socialist. I don't want to, but he writes for a socialist magazine. And I were on this panel. Before the show, like literally minutes, James confronts Ben Burgess about a video edit saying that he cut out this important piece and challenged Ben on it. And Ben Burgess's response was, I don't know his response at the time. When we were on stage, we were supposed to be talking about media manipulation, and I think Ben perfectly exemplified the divide. James O'Keefe said, in this video, X happened, and you omitted it. Ben said, unions are important and good, and if you don't support unions, you don't support free speech. Therefore, James O'Keefe exposing a union was harmful to them, and that means what he was doing was bad. And then my response was, that has nothing to do with truth or journalism. You've started your argument from the point of from an ideological point. Unions are good. James targeted unions. James is bad. That's not journalism. Mm-hmm. The question is James telling the truth? That was the issue. Is he being deceptive or not? And the answer is no, you're just mad because he did something damaging to your ideological cause. This is a writer for a major publication. I think Jacobin's fairly good. They defend free speech. I can respect that. But that exemplified the problem perfectly. The corporate press, the woke, like AOC said, it doesn't matter if you're factually correct. It matters if you're morally correct. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between us and them.
And that's called ad hominem. It's a fallacy. It's a diplomatic fallacy. If you attack someone's character, that's called, like, if you make a comment like, well, you wear green and everyone knows that's the ugliest color, which is
right. Attack the argument, not the character. Yeah.
But this is not that. This is James O'Keefe said, thing happened, thing is true. Ben said, but thing is bad for unions and unions are good, therefore you are bad. And that's not ad hominem. That is like, or your work is bad. Your journalism is deceptive and wrong because it's harming unions, which are important for the people.
Yeah, he attacked his work ethic.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Well,
the point is, you're either saying a dog jumps out a window, and a journalist will say, dog jumped out a window. And an ideologue will say, the dog was thrown out the window by an evil person. Because that's the moral good, to condemn those who raised the dog in a system of oppression that resulted in him jumping out the window in fear.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that didn't happen. The dog just jumped. I don't know.
There's a point you made earlier I kind of want to seize on for a moment here. You mentioned that conservatives know more about how the left thinks than the left knows about how the right thinks. And this is a point we've made a number of times. I think this has also been verified by different studies where they polled people on the left and asked them to describe conservative opinions, asked people on the right to do the same thing. One thing we don't talk about as much is the fact that left-wing people also don't understand the way that people who they consider to be their allies think. They don't understand the way the people who they claim to represent think. They literally do not take the time to figure out what anyone else in the world believes. They think they have all the world's problems solved with their ideology. So whenever it comes to women or the black community or any other group, the Islamic community for whom they claim to advocate, they're constantly pushing for ideas that members of that group generally don't like. So I've said this before. On the BLM website, there was language about abolishing the nuclear family, right? And when you look at BLM and when you look at how black and brown have been included on the pride flag to include Black Lives Matter, well, when it comes to the question of homosexuality, according to polling data, the black community is more conservative than the white community, right? What about women? Well, they seem to think that for women, liberation means going into the workplace, having an OnlyFans, stripping, selling nude pictures of yourself. This is not how most women think. And then when it comes to Islam, they want to be able to lump Islam into a category with these other groups as if Islamic religious fundamentalists have the same goals or interests as these other groups. My point is they make zero effort to understand what anyone else wants or what anyone else thinks. It's not just conservatives. They're complete solipsists.
There was in the UK, I can't remember the neighborhood or the area, the city. There was an LGBT curriculum in a classroom in a Muslim neighborhood. So all of the religious Muslims came out protesting. And you actually had this video where it's like a gay guy saying like, I'm doing this for you. And they're like, we don't like you and we don't like what you're doing. But these leftists have created this narrative where they're the saviors of all these different groups. There was one thing that happened where some TV show depicted a female Muslim character who was gay.
Yep.
And the Muslim community was an uproar, like they were in an uproar, like this is offensive to us. It's like, did you think that going against their strong religious conservative Muslim values would make them like you?
Yeah, well, exactly. And so I think part of the reason they would do that is to kind of like groom the Western Muslim community into adopting more of their values. I remember when that happened, I did a cartoon poking fun at the idea, and there were actually a number of Muslim people, because it was funny, the whole idea behind the cartoon was just like the left just seeing groups of people as caricatures, and so there were some jokes in there about like Islam and what the left's doing, but the feedback I got from Muslim people is that they really liked it, even though it was poking some fun. They were like poking fun at the ideas of the stereotypes because they're so sick and tired of the left claiming that they're like their avatar or pawn, and represent them somehow. Like the Muslim community is like in any way emblematic of what the left's goals are.
Go ahead.
We talked about a little bit before the show, Greg. I was mentioning to you that I think they call it the left, even people that call themselves leftists, because they want to project this idea that they're half of the conversation, when in fact it's a very small group of, without making too many generalizations, drugged out people that are on like Adderall and other amphetamines since they were 12 or whatever. I don't know how many of them there are, but a lot of people are on those like suicide watch type people. And they have a microphone. So everyone else, they're inside this like echo chamber house of fun mirrors, and they see around and they see all these other deranged people, and then they think if they can somehow help the deranged people, then they're helping the entire system. But they're just like scratching their own backs, and everyone else can see inside. It's a one-way system. We can all see them doing it. At least most people that are aware of the media and the manipulation stuff that are watching around that stuff can tell. The transgender, like cutting up a kid's genitals when they're 9 is probably not very good for the kid.
Have you seen all of these performative outrage videos over Roe v. Wade?
No, I haven't seen any.
So there's women like screaming, like, ah, and they're like punching pillows and things like that. They're all very obviously performative for two reasons. They've set up their camera, pressed record, stood back, and then started screaming. So they planned it. It wasn't a true display of emotion. It was just, there's one video where you see one woman like banging a pillow on the ground, and it starts with a brief, her looking at the camera and then going. Someone's moving the camera and filming her, and then she stops and then pauses for a second looking at the camera. Very clearly an edited performance. People see that and say, oh, if I'm to fit in, I need to be angry about this. They don't know why they're angry. They were just told to be. Billy Joe Armstrong goes on stage and he's like, I'm renouncing my citizenship because people are so stupid. And he's probably not gonna. I would be very surprised if he literally renounced his citizenship. It's a complicated process. I doubt he's going to go to the consulate and be like, yes, here's my signature, my official form of renunciation, and I would like to have a meeting with the American consulate officer to swear my... Like, it's not something you just do. So I really doubt he's going to go back, he's going to smoke pot and go like, what was I going to do again? But when he goes on stage and says this, everyone's like, yeah, I'm angry too. I don't know why, but the guy on stage said to be. They see all the videos. These young women see the videos getting likes, so they make more videos like this to get attention. They don't actually know what they're protesting. They don't even know what Roe v. Wade did. They don't know why it was overturned. So they just say, it's the Handmaid's Tale. Get your Bible out of my body. And it's like they didn't overturn this on any religious grounds at all.
Well, part of
don't
what I
don't
think
care.
is and that's also because this is another example of the left not knowing how anyone else thinks, not knowing how to frame an issue. They think that this is just a matter of like some small minority of religious fundamentalists who want to ban abortion, and that there are no reasons outside of divine revelation to want to oppose abortion. But also, they think that I think some of them really seem to think that abortion has been criminalized nationwide because of this. This is part of what's so funny about Armstrong, Billy Joe Armstrong, saying that he's going to renounce his citizenship. Many blue states are still going to have abortion laws which are more lenient than the ones in Europe.
And in the UK particularly.
Yeah, so he's going to be moving to a country that probably has stricter abortion laws than the state he's fleeing.
And it has a king. Well, it has a queen.
Yeah, I know. That's insane. He could move to Colorado where there's zero restrictions. Instead, the UK has like a de facto abortion because the women can be like, my mental health is affected, and they'll give him the abortion. But you still need a process, whereas in Colorado you don't. And he's complaining. It's like, dude, the states are like how big is the UK? Like comparable to what state?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wouldn't hazard a guess, but quite small compared to many of the states here.
The United States and all of Europe are comparable in size.
Right.
So the UK, living there would be akin to him being like, I'm moving to Colorado. It's like a different state. It's crazy that Europe has no unified abortion law, similar to how the United States doesn't. And there's actually, I think, Finland. I think it's banned outright. I could be wrong. It's like heavily restricted or something.
Gotta look that up.
I think most states, most countries in Europe, it's like 12 weeks.
Yeah, at least.
And they're decently restricted. In the United States, up until the overturning of Roe, the U.S. was way more lenient than Europe.
Don't you think it's similar to, with him just spouting this, hey, get behind this. I haven't really, I don't have an opinion or a value on it because anyway, I'm a birthing person. You're allowed to say woman these days. It's like I saw during COVID, the new diseased until proven healthy. I call it COVID woke. It's like cancel culture's guilty till proven innocent. It's let's just, let's chant the slogan and be part of that crowd that is on the righteous side without really just investigating it is self-righteous.
It's a bunch of people with pitchforks and torches.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm just here to fit in. Let's pull up this picture we got here. We got a tweet from Andrew Doyle. Take a look at this.
It's terrifying.
So, Greg, you're from the UK, right?
Yes, I am.
What is this? Where is this located?
It looks like, there's a double-decker bus there. It looks like it's Regent Street. It looks like south looking down Regent Street, which crosses Oxford Street. But it also looks like, I don't know, it's emblematic somewhat of...
For those that are just listening, it is probably like 100 pride intersex flags, five flags per row, 10 rows
50.
deep. At least 50?
At least 50.
Well, it cuts around the corner, so you can't actually see, but you
yeah.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that can be seen.
Right.
So quite a bit more than 50.
65 at the very least.
Yeah.
This is, what I think, maybe you were thinking this, Greg, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like, I thought this could have been a picture from Nazi Germany that was colorized, and then the Nazi flags were superimposed with pride flags. Because it is freaking terrifying how a bunch of I'm not gonna generalize.
Ideological flags being flown. So I have a question though. Is it overreact? Is that an overreaction? Because I was facetiously tweeting on Twitter like it's literally Nazi Germany. Like, I don't care about the pride flags.
Well, I look at go ahead.
Just real quick, I'm wondering if you've ever seen an ideological flag flown to this degree in the UK like this.
Never, but no. And what it makes me think about is the Union Jack, the flag of England. So it was about 15, 16 years ago. I went back to England, and I'd been away for a while because I live in America. I'm an American citizen now, and I mentioned flying the Union Jack, the flag of it. And oh no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's a symbol of racism now. I'm like, hang on a minute. The Union Jack is a symbol of race. When did that happen? I grew up, my grandfather fought in the second, I'm sorry, not my grandfather, but he did. He fought in the Second World War, and he lost his firstborn son during the Second World War. Well, why can't we be patriotic? Why can't we talk about, the pride for the people who give their lives and to afford us our freedoms? And I look at this and I think, well, it's not so much that flag. It doesn't really mean that much to me. It's what flag should be flying there. And if it were flying there, what we would be thinking, what we would be told to be thinking. You know, we can't celebrate that flag.
Let's read Andrew Doyle's tweets. He said, for some, these flags represent diversity and inclusion, but for many, they symbolize an ideological movement that is hostile to gay people and women's rights, opposes free speech, legitimizes violence and bullying, and hounds people out of their jobs if they fail to conform.
Yeah.
That's right. There was a comic shop near me a while ago. And I remember I went there and it was cool and they had stuff and I bought it. One day I came back and they had a big flag, one of these flags in there. And I was like, I'm not going to go there again. Because these are the people that have defended murder and violence. If I went to a comic shop and they had a swastika flag, I also would be like, I'm not going to go there because these are people who have justified violence, murder, and harmed other people. And I don't trust people of this extremist ideology. If I'm working, if I'm on the job and I'm working politically and I have security and stuff, I have no problem interviewing Antifa or alt-right or whatever. But I'm not going to go to an establishment that flies that flag because it's legitimately an extremist organization. Flying the flag of an extremist ideology. Not interested. You know, going to New York this past weekend for the event, like every single business was flying the flag. You come out to West Virginia and surprise, surprise, even small towns out here fly these flags. But these flags, they do not represent pride and love and inclusion. They are flown by people who have thrown Molotov cocktails through buildings. They are flown by people who have brutally beaten journalists in the street and who advocate for executions, assassinations, and revolution. They are political extremists. Now, if you agree and bend the knee to the ideology, you'll be fine. But if you stand up defiantly and say, what you did to that man in Provo, Utah, I think it was a man shot in the arm driving his car for no reason, is wrong. And they say, it was for a good cause. What you did to David Dorn was not good. They say, don't you dare defy us. It's like, okay, these people are psychopaths. And the flag of a psychotic death cult is being flown. Now, you want to come out and say that Donald Trump supporters are a death cult and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, there's no institutional power behind the QAnon people. None. It's like maybe some high profile people, but nothing relevant. In the modern conservative movement, libertarian, and with moderates joining the ranks, it's people being like, I think people should have a right to choose in their own state how they live, versus the left saying the federal government should impose our will over the entirety of the country. One's extremist, seeking politics based on domination, and the other is seeking politics based on moderation. Unfortunately, it seems like the moderation political side is going to get crushed because they don't seek to dominate their opponents.
I think there are some people who maybe fly this flag and believe in inclusion, believe that they're believing it. But it's like a friend of mine who she was ultra woke and she was on the Women's March, and now she's kind of, you know, she broke through that belief system. Let's say she doesn't have that ideology that's like everyone on that side is bad, and she's actually seen behind the curtain that, you know, the mainstream media is not all it's purporting to be, and it is a lot of propaganda. So I think there's people that do you think there are people that are just ignorant who just want to support? Because I have nothing against the flag. When I see the flag, I don't think bad things.
Oh, well, the swastika, it was the wheel of life. It's the Hindu flower of life. It's an ancient symbol of peace and the turning of growth and death and life and rebirth. And it was a beautiful symbol. And the Nazis believed in the purity and the wonder of Germany. That's what the people believed in, is the greatness of the fatherland. And then, of course, the psychopath drug addict twisted it.
Yeah, that guy was on meth like crazy. Hitler, that dude was.
He was also deranged from the war. He was just a mentally broken.
And this is the issue. I think people need to understand too. The refusal to see historical analogs is based on the fact that things haven't gotten that bad yet. That's insane. So when you have Nazi Germany, I think it is a bit silly to constantly use them as the example, but they were so egregious. But why don't we use communist Russia and the revolution? And that's more akin to the leftist revolution. And they had their flag and they had their symbol, the sickle and the hammer. And they executed, the communism killed over 100 million people. Only lasted the Soviet Union, only 69 years. And look how much death, destruction, and genocide they waged. And people flew their flags. People thought it was for the good, for the better. They said, we're fighting for the workers, and we're making the world a better place, and we're dealing with the oppressors. And they were ruled by psychopaths. The average person who flew the flag, they're not evil. They're stupid. But stupid people in large quantities are extremely dangerous. You know, Michael Malice talks about He says, how could anyone be blackpilled? These people are so incredibly stupid. And I somewhat agree with him, but I will point out zombies are also stupid. And 100,000 zombies marching towards you is a force to be reckoned with. That's what we're dealing with. People flying this flag are just like, I don't know, whatever. Do as you're told. Don't resist, and you'll be fine. You won't be. They'll still come for you and cancel you no matter what you do. There was that author recently who made an off-color joke or something, had to apologize. And then even though he apologized, they came after him again. That's a story, a tale as old as time. The people are flying these flags because they think everyone else thinks it's popular. No one actually knows or cares what it means. It's a mishmash of nonsense. I'm willing to bet. In fact, when I was in New York, people were flying the rainbow flag, and that's considered offensive now. But they didn't know that. So they were just because
the rainbow flag's considered offensive.
Yes.
Why is that?
It's exclusionary to trans people and black people.
See, I mean, there you go. It's like, and now we see Martina Navratilova's comment.
You saw what she said to me?
What?
I said that given that there's a higher history of mental illness among the left and that trans people have a higher rate of suicide, red flag laws will be used against them more often than against the right. And then she angrily responded that I was an idiot, that I was an a-hole, that I was making these things up and it wasn't true. And it's crazy to me because...
She sounds dangerous. Someone needs to...
Well,
the police need it. I'm kidding.
It takes you 2 seconds to just Google it. And what do you get? 3,000 articles, all these different studies showing the left has higher rates of mental illness. It's a fact. It is an established scientific fact that the more liberal and left-leaning you are, the higher your rates of mental illness. I didn't make that up. Mm-hmm. She was arrogant, she was ignorant, and that's exactly the problem. She just saw what I said and said, how dare you, I'm angry. That's it.
That happens a lot. To your point about communism and the hammer and sickle, there are a lot of people still, we do, the false glamour of our idolatry and our iconography. I mean, we think it's cool, but we forget at times that, millions of people were slaughtered, during, these...
Holodomor.
Yeah.
The Holodomor.
Yeah, I mean, so, I was suggesting that people shouldn't be, should people be glorifying the hammer and sickle? We don't glorify the swastika. I mean,
That's and that is something that is a failure of our education, our culture and our institutions. And now our institutions are co-opted, so they'll never come out against it. But the sickle and hammer represents 150 million dead. I mean, the things, the systemic and systematic execution of people. Mm-hmm. And what the people on the left, I love this, the Occupy Wall Street people. They don't understand they're the bourgeoisie.
Right.
That does not mean the wealthy elites. It means the middle class and the proletariat, the workers. They don't realize they are the people. They are advocating for their own wealth redistribution or being thrown in the gulags.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've had that conversation with people who are very wealthy and consider themselves to be on the left. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you are the bourgeoisie.
No, it's not extremely wealthy. It's middle class. The bourgeoisie
no, but like
is
extremely wealthy
people.
compared to a large, the vast majority of the world population.
These kids, these young people who are socialists, and they make $50,000, $60,000 a year. I'm like, you are exactly who Marx wanted to get rid of. And Stalin. Stalin's a better example because he was the one who actually did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't understand. The intelligentsia, these people, the laptop class, if you were in Russia, I mean, that's who they came for first.
The commune already has a BuzzFeed article writer.
That's right.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that the hammer and sickle is not as taboo, and it's funny because you'll see a lot of lefties flying that flag or putting it in their bio as if that's edgy or interesting, but it's basically always been allowed, at least throughout my lifetime. The only way I remember communism really being addressed was with reference to the quote-unquote overreaction from it in the United States. I even remember in history class in public school when they were explaining communism to us, of course, they mentioned that many people were killed, but they also talked about the poor people who were supposedly helped by it. And we were kind of given both sides there, which is really interesting. Can you imagine if a public school teacher said, well, let's give you like both sides of this whole Nazi thing, right?
He did fix the economy, and Mussolini made the trains run on time.
Yeah, and so...
Yeah, I don't know if I care about those things.
Exactly. And so I got to say, it probably has something to do with the fact that many people in media and in academia are and have been communists for decades.
Yeah, people are commenting like McCarthy was right.
Well, and it's funny because people are shocked when you say that. It's like, well, why would that not be the case? Fear of communism has always, 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 in every single instance it shows up in media, been scoffed at or laughed at. It's just a moral panic. Why were people afraid of that ideology that killed hundreds of millions of people? How silly.
You made a funny comment earlier about the future dystopia and the flags with rainbows and stuff.
Oh, when was this?
Just a moment ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah, before the show started. No, I was just saying, like, for historians to look back on all the tyrannical systems throughout all of history, and then they see ours and the flag is like rainbows, happy, fun. Like all of the other tyrannical regimes have these very intimidating symbols, and ours is like happy, fun time,
the
rainbow.
swastika was a beautiful. It wasn't intimidating in the beginning. It was the wheel of life. It was a beautiful symbol.
And maybe it's because of the context, but also at the same time, like a swastika, like that black symbol inside of a white circle on a red flag, does look intimidating.
No. So this is an interesting point, man. Like, it's funny that you bring up the rainbows and stuff, but I went to an antique shop when I was in Texas, and they had so many swastikas all over the place. And this is in Austin, and I was like,
It's Trump's America, you said.
yeah, I was like, hey, ho, ho, antique shop has got to go. And no, I'm kidding. But I asked them, I was like, hey, how come you have all this swastika stuff? And they said, in the early 1900s, it was considered a symbol of good luck and healing and all these good things. That's why the Nazis took it. So you could go around the U.S. on the south side of Chicago where I grew up. There was a house that had a swastika. It was a 2-story building, a swastika on the top, and wood blocks were hammered in to make it a square. But you could see it, and you knew it was a swastika.
I thought you were going to say there was a swastika on the house. And my old Argentinian neighbor insisted it was just a peace symbol.
Right.
And
You see it on like buildings in downtown Chicago too. In the Loop, you'll see like just carved into the stone masonry swastikas all along the top. Ancient symbols.
It wasn't until World War II the symbol became something else, and they inverted it. The actual symbol is
It's like that in the mirror. Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So just think about that. Everybody is putting up these good luck symbols all over the place. And then along comes Nazi Germany. And it wasn't until we learned of what they were doing that we were like, whoa, that symbolized all this really, really bad stuff. So historians look back at it and they're like, look how evil and awful this symbol is. They may do the same exact thing to these flags. They're not going to look at it like it was pretty and happy. They're going to look back and be like, wow, how evil and disgusting. Who knows?
Wasn't the Nazi
Depends on who
Party
wins.
originally was it the German National Socialist Workers
National
Party?
Socialist
Is that
German
what it
Workers
was?
Party,
That's what it's,
interesting.
and Nazi was a slur. It was like they were making fun of them
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, the German Workers' Party or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but they were like their version of socialism was based on like race. So it was like identitarianism. It wasn't really socialism. Some people want to say it is, but it's like racial identitarian economics is something slightly different. But
Racial identitarian socialists, that sounds a little bit familiar
That's
in the
what I'm
present
talking
cultural
about, dude.
context.
And it's
Yeah.
not even a joke. That's truly
no,
the
yes,
fear.
100%.
let me put it this way too. Sorry, these flags represent the exact same political ideology as the Nazis.
Yep.
Not in the sense of what they've done or want to do. It covers identitarianism.
Yeah.
They are identitarian flags that your race or so it's a flag of identitarianism. Now, how they implement it, how they feel about certain races is different, but it's an identitarian flag. That's what I mean to say.
Nationalsozialist. I think that's what the Nazi stood for.
YouTube keeps telling me to inject ads. They're like,
Don't
put
do
an
it.
ad in.
We're
I
not
know,
doing
it's
it.
annoying. It's like a
Healthy, with the healthy aging support of collagen.
There you go.
Another aspect that worries me as we talk about the allegories between the flags being flown, ideologies being pushed, is the economy flailing right now, like it was in 1928, 29, right before Hitler, when
Isn't
people
it
were
funny?
starving.
It's like Weimar Germany. We keep
Yeah,
saying that.
so
Here we
great.
are.
You tell me you're going to fix it. You tell me who the enemy is, and I'll follow you anywhere because I'm starving.
El Salvador's looking pretty good right about now.
Well, it was
Bitcoin
inevitable that
Beach.
was going to happen with the economy, but I'm still surprised that the alarm bells aren't ringing. They don't seem to be ringing in the press that much. It's like, oh, this
Well,
stock
they're in on it.
Huh?
The press is in on it.
That's what I don't have a paper trail, but that is certainly what it seems like is happening. Have you uncovered much of a paper trail
What do you mean?
between global economy and the U.S. media apparatus, CNN, Comcast?
Do you mean like how Jim Cramer was telling people to buy up stocks right before the 08 crash? Or how he's like continually telling to buy when then the market
He's
crashed?
been at it again recently doing the well, I
Right.
think that's just in his blood, isn't it?
No,
It's his MO.
look, the media sells you out and lies to you, the corporate press, and the elites along with it. I mean, come on. When I was on stage at the Minds event, I wrapped up by saying, Trayvon Martin's story was fabricated. The NBC edited the audio to make it sound like Zimmerman was racist. Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot. That wasn't true. Justice Smollett, that wasn't true. Russiagate, Ukrainegate. Joe Biden started his campaign, the very fine people hoax. Like, It's all lies, and it always props up the establishment politicians and their agenda.
What I like now, and what I think is different than 1929, is mass media was new then. They had radio, and they just began like television and video and stuff, film. And so they all bought in. They thought it was real. Even War of the Worlds, that Orson Welles thing. Some people I've heard thought that we were actually being attacked by aliens. People didn't question the media. Like Hitler had his minister of propaganda, and no one. I mean, people I don't think really they just saw it. They were brainwashed. Now we know that it's brainwashing, and so we're at least aware. And so I think that's why there's so much pushback, like what you were saying earlier about Glenn Youngkin getting elected, people being able to see the manipulation a lot more effectively than 100 years ago.
All right, let's talk about the nightmare dystopia we are in, because we're in one. You know, we talk about these flags being flown, and we're like, well, you know, maybe it means this, and maybe they'll say this in the future. I give you this tweet from The Readout. Companies covering some or all travel costs for abortions. We've got Citi, Yelp, Bumble, Levi's, Lyft, Apple, Amazon, Starbucks, Zillow, Airbnb, PayPal, Disney, Bank of America, MasterCard, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, Dick's, Patagonia, JP Morgan, Match, DoorDash, Netflix, and Reddit. Just some of the companies that are covering the cost of abortion for their female employees for one reason. Maternity leave costs more money.
Yep.
That's right.
Welcome to the corporate nightmare dystopia
That's exciting.
you've long been warned about. Personally, I never thought paying for women to kill their children because it's cheaper than paying for maternity leave would become a left-wing position, but here we are. I want to add, we here at Timcast will not be paying the costs for any of our employees to travel to and seek out abortions. We do, however, offer unlimited maternity and paternity leave because we trust those who are going to have to raise their family to spend as much time as they need, and then they can come back when they see fit. All they got to do is let us know, and we will try and figure out how to fill in, because family comes first. And if every business worked that way, maternity leave, paternity leave, and family comes first, we'd have a very strong, robust, healthy society. But unfortunately, corporations today are saying, look, it's going to cost us $4,000 to $5,000 in maternity leave, and then you got paternity leave on top. Oh, that's a new thing. Just give her the $2,000 for the abortion and get rid of it.
Well, also, she's going to be working fewer hours, most likely. She could be, because she's going to be more focused on being a mother, taking care of her child. And oh my goodness, it might even be the case that she stops working altogether to be a stay-at-home mom, and then you have to find somebody else. So it's cynical, it's evil. They would literally rather slaughter infants than see any decline in their profits. And of course, the left has a blind spot here. The left has a very obvious blind spot here because they see abortion as utility, which allows them consequence-free sexual access to women's bodies without any potential responsibility being incurred as a result. And so they're completely willing to support this horrific dystopian garbage, because if they didn't, they would have to come to terms with how twisted and broken their worldview is. And they would also, heavens forbid, have to live in a society where they need to control their sexual urges instead of doing whatever they want, whenever they want. And that's ultimately what this is all about. It's all about short-term pleasure and short-term
I got to be
gain.
honest, like, it's not even about that, because IUDs exist and condoms exist. It's like, you don't have to control your urges. You just got to cover up.
Well, that's the thing. One argument that they make is, well, what if this fails? And so there was an interesting analysis from the Brookings Institute, which came out, where they were looking at the explosion in fatherlessness in the black community. And one argument they made is it was actually the legalization and increased legalization of abortion prior to Roe v. Wade, and then abortion being legalized nationally after Roe v. Wade, which led to the collapse of the black family, because it broke down the expectations that you should be with someone who you would have kids with.
Greg, what do you think about the corporations?
I think I've said this before, we're living in an era of woke capitalism in which companies pretend to care about social justice to sell products to people who pretend to hate capitalism. And I think that really, there's money in it. There's money in virtue signaling. There's money in faux glamour and faux communism, and we're against the. And I'm just sometimes, frankly, appalled at the hatred, the visceral hatred towards this amazing country that I came to 28, 29 years ago and afforded me great opportunities. And I wish we could talk more about what we love as much as what we hate. And I think the wokeification of America is just tragic in so many respects.
It's just so amazing. I wonder how many these companies, when they saw the Roe v. Wade decision, they probably went, yeah, baby, because now we can justify not paying maternity leave.
Yep. Ka-ching.
Yeah. How creepy is this? It's like every nightmare corporate. I'm speechless.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, but this is also part of what happens when you have a society which restructures itself and reorients itself away from being about virtue and character development and towards short-term gratification. Ultimately, that's what abortion is. It is the ultimate example of saying all that matters is convenience. I don't care who has to get hurt as long as I'm not forced to take upon any responsibility.
I got an idea for you, Seamus, for a cartoon. And it's a corporate PSA from one of these companies, and they're like, we here at Apple care deeply about our employees. That's why as an employee here, if you ever encounter an unwanted pregnancy, we will cover your cost to seek an abortion. And the woman goes, what about maternity leave? No.
Well, and so this is funny, right? The left says we need abortion because we need to guarantee a woman's right to choose. But then whenever they look at anything else that happens in the corporate world between an employer and their employee, they say this is a totally coercive relationship. People don't really have the ability to choose new jobs. So this is, I mean, by their analysis, this is against women's choice because you literally have employers economically incentivizing women to kill their unborn children.
It's amazing. Another idea for a bit would be like a woman going into her supervisor and being like, I think I'm pregnant and I may need maternity leave. And he goes, have you considered aborting it? And she's like, no, I can't afford it. We got you covered.
You guys follow that Robert Reich? Is it Reich or Reich? Anyone know for sure?
Whichever one's the bad one.
Yeah. And he tweeted out, I guess, July 2021, let's get one thing straight. Freedom doesn't mean you have the right to recklessly endanger others by refusing to get vaccinated.
I saw that.
And then from like today or yesterday, he tweets out, I don't know who needs to hear this, but every person should have control over their own body. So
he doesn't know who needs to hear it because it's him.
A year ago,
But
he
keep
was saying
going.
you don't have the right to refuse to get vaccinated. And then yesterday he said you should have control over your own body. I don't understand where the disconnect is.
Well, it's my body, my choice until it actually, it's like, there's a difference when it's COVID and when it's the.
There's
and
no
that's
logic. There's no
there isn't
principle.
any logic,
It's not hypocrisy. Whatever benefits them is good, period.
Yeah, well, yeah. I actually, I was flying here and I saw people still wearing masks. I don't think people are afraid of COVID anymore. They're afraid of others knowing, I think, what COVID revealed about themselves. And, that whole situation, that 2 years plus of COVID to me was, I called it right at the start, the panicdemic, not the pandemic. There was this sense of, taking away our rights. And if we let them take away our rights during emergencies, they're going to continue to manufacture emergencies to take away our rights. And to me, I'm British. I didn't grow up here, but I see this lack of people actually getting it. Like the freedom of speech is another thing. I see in the UK they have hate speech laws. The police forces are trolling the internet and arresting, knocking on people's doors and pulling them in and charging them with crimes for things they've said. Yep. Freedom of expression. As long as there's no incitement to violence, say what you want. You don't have to agree. But it is dystopia. You called it. It's this dystopia that people just many people don't seem to be getting.
And it's and these are all the companies that change their Twitter avatars to rainbow flags. Mm-hmm. Like they don't care about you.
Yep.
They're gutting the system. So there was in New York City and San Francisco, there were stampedes at their Pride events. I think in New York, someone lit off fireworks. I'm not sure. It might have been both places. And then people stampeded out screaming, thinking there was a shooting. I was looking at these photos and these videos of this stuff, and I'm just like, at some point, I don't know if they ever were about celebrating love. You look at the videos.
You don't think ever?
I don't know if ever. Not in my lifetime.
Right.
Not in my
Really?
lifetime. Yeah, my family owned a cafe on the north side of Chicago, and I wasn't allowed to go outside during Pride because it's debauchery. It's nude people doing things to each other and just like things children shouldn't see. And so my mom would be like, hey, Pride is this weekend. Don't go outside. And we're going to, just keep him in the back. Don't let him see. And then I remember I had to go out one time and I saw it. I was a little kid. Nude women, nude men doing things inappropriate around children, people dancing around, skipping through the street naked. There's viral videos going around right now of a man wearing a Bugs Bunny mask, totally naked, dancing, jumping through the street.
I saw that, and I'm 54, and I don't want to see that.
There's a video of an old man with a big gut in tighty whities twerking in front of like children, and it's like that's not about love. It's just not about
But
love
why
and
are
being
these
proud of
parents
yourself.
taking their kids out to see
The same people who saluted, whichever corrupt ideology, be it the red salute or otherwise. I have family members and friends that I couldn't believe it a few years ago seeing them march to the street and do the red salute. They were like, "Oh, it just means black power," and I'm like, "And the Roman salute meant white power. You're doing an identitarian salute to a fascist or authoritarian regime. Like, I don't care what you think you're doing. You're in a death cult, and you've lost your mind."
There was a march in I think the UK a couple of weekends ago, maybe last weekend, and the chant was Ho Chi Minh, Che Guevara, Stalin, Ho Chi Minh, che, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you're walking through this, and I think they're just blindly chanting catchphrases and going back to communism, and with no understanding of history. But then it's no surprise, given the educational system, given the fact that we're burning books and we're knocking down statues and we're not learning any lessons from history, or we're not relearning the lessons from history that they taught us and history taught us.
It doesn't matter what we know from history. That's the sad reality. We watched them tear down the statues. We knew what would happen when they did. We learned the lessons from 1984. They were renaming streets. That's one of the lessons. And we watched them do it. In New York, they illegally painted Black Lives Matter in front of Trump Tower, seizing taxpayer dollars to do it. And corrupt police officers blindly and stupidly defended it and arrested those who challenged it. The governments in these cities have become overtly corrupt. The institutions are overtly corrupt. We are watching it happen. And we know exactly what it means in the turn of a century when people are tearing down statues and replacing them with their own ideology and not being held accountable. The next steps are obvious if we stay on a comparable track to the 1900s. And everyone knows it. I know it. Seamus knows it. You know it. People have talked about it ad nauseum. The tearing down of statues, the renaming of streets. 1984 is here. Merrick Garland rejecting the ruling from the Supreme Court. The DOJ arresting Republicans. The front runner in Michigan was arrested. We have a former Trump senior DOJ official, Jeffrey Clark, raided by the FBI. James O'Keefe, a news organization, admittedly, according to the FBI, raided by the feds. The federal government has been weaponized and is going after people who oppose their ideology. They've been tearing down statues and doing all of the corrupt things we expect. And that's it. We know it's happening. So what next?
What is next? I mean, so people listening to this are watching it go, well, what do I do? What can I do?
There's a possibility right now that in November the Republicans win. And that's the big question. Here's what I fear. If the Republicans win and then do nothing, this country is already collapsed. If the Republicans win and then we see investigations, we see subpoenas, that could be pulling us out of the tailspin and correcting the corruption of the Biden administration, of Joe Biden himself, the things his son has done, if those are investigated. If the Summer of Love riots are investigated, if the 529 insurrection is investigated, perhaps that could lead to an uprising and pulling this country back together.
Do you think there's an argument for the converse, the inverse of that?
Yes.
Of just like let's just move forward and not go back and forth between impeach them, impeach him. No.
If the Republicans do nothing, then the country implodes. Because if I've been doing a lot of reading about the Civil War, and one of the principal issues was that the South felt the federal government was not enforcing laws that harmed it. The North was getting to do whatever they wanted. And that's comparable to what we're seeing now with Antifa killing, Antifa and BLM rioting in the Summer of Love and 30 plus people being murdered, dying, David Dorn being shot in the chest. Kamala Harris fundraised for these people. Joe Biden's staff donated to bail these people out. But outside of that, you have Trump officials being raided by the feds. You have Republicans, like in Nevada, the chairman having their phone records seized. The federal government has been weaponized against their rival political party. If nothing happens, you are going to see this country get ripped apart. What I think is likely to happen is, like Texas, it's already happening, actually. Missouri says they're a sanctuary to federal gun laws. New Hampshire just declared the same thing. California declared on immigration. They're ripping themselves apart from the federal government, saying you have no authority here on these issues anymore. Well, it's not overt nullification. They're saying we don't recognize those laws and we will not be party to assistance in enforcement of them. That's step one. What happens now? You've got all these states saying we ban official travel between these states for these things they support. The country is hyperpolarizing geographically. That's a precursor to outright statewide conflict, interstate conflict. I think if Republicans get in and actually do something, it will be tumultuous, but maybe start correcting the problems in this country and restoring accountability. If the Republicans do nothing, confidence is lost. And without confidence, people ignore the system outright. You see this I saw this in Sweden. A lot of people were saying the crime was being committed by refugees. It's not true. The crime was being committed by the children of refugees, people who were born in Sweden, but were considered by Swedes to be immigrants. So what happens is you have these areas like Rinkeby in Sweden. A bunch of Somali refugees move in the 90s. Sweden says, we don't care. They form an enclave. They don't interact with the outside government. Today, their children, who have never been a part of the system, will throw bricks at cops because they don't see the cops as having any real authority. And the cops know it. That leads to total destabilization. If you get to the point in the United States where people view the government as illegitimate, like AOC said the Supreme Court's illegitimate, several other federal level politicians have said this. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, rejected the Supreme Court ruling and said, we're going to resist this and we're going to ensure these things stay. The country at the highest level officially is being ripped apart. If that continues, you will have people in Texas saying, we don't recognize the federal government at all, and they'll completely ignore it. Already starting to happen. Texas legally allows for suppressors manufactured in Texas to be used in Texas without going through the NFA stamping process, which is a federal law. It's already begun. It can change if confidence is restored. There's a possibility that if Republicans get in and start doing things, the left reacts so violently that it's inevitable. I don't know for sure. I can only tell you, if you read history, read the history of the Spanish Civil War, read the history of the Bolsheviks and Russia, you look at what's happening now, and I don't see how you can imagine this results in a peaceful process. I just don't see it.
So who's going to be the savior? Who would you see as the next president to replace teleprompter? President Biden.
I don't think it's how
Donald
it works.
Trump?
I don't think that the savior isn't the way it's going to. That's what people think is that someone's going to sweep in and fix it. But it's about confidence, and it's for the people. This government was built by us for ourselves, and that we are running it, and we have people representing us at the moment, which can be recalled. But it's confidence in ourselves, in myself. If I have confidence that my thoughts and actions are going to contribute to the betterment of society, then maybe we can write a new government. Maybe we can evolve our Constitution.
Do you think people are lacking confidence because they've realized, like I referenced before, the Democratic primary, right? For me, I came out and supported Andrew Yang, and I think there were only two candidates who weren't rife with identity politics, and that was Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. But it was decided by the DNC. So does the vote people? Do you think people are just disaffected, going, you know what?
Yep.
It doesn't matter. I'll vote, but it's going to be decided by people higher up.
Trump winning in 2016 is proof that it does matter. You just need that tidal force. You need people in a mass wave to go out and vote to just overrun it.
We also need to basically open up the software code for whatever kind of voting machines we use. Like Dominion had as a proprietary software, and they tally votes in secret, and we don't know what the algorithm's doing. We just assume, hopefully it's right, but we don't know. And that's the problem. We got to know. We got to see the machines in action.
If we want to restore confidence in the system, then the public should own the voting machines, and the source code should be open and available to the public.
And how do you change that if
you do it? Corporate. So look, if Republicans win in November, I think we will see some stuff happen because there's enough. Like the Freedom Caucus is pretty good. There are Republicans who pretty much, they're doing good. In terms of challenging the establishment, I'm not saying that to say that all of their political ideology is good, but they're really sticking it to the establishment. If they hold out until 2024 and Donald Trump wins, it could be chaotic. It will probably be tumultuous, but it could be what we need to see accountability. I like DeSantis, but I don't think he would clean house and hold people to account the way Trump would, because Trump's been slighted so heavily. I think Trump wants revenge. But that could mean...
Do you think that's good?
Yes.
Really, to have someone who's full
motivated
of
by revenge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Really?
Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp, and then he didn't. Why? Because he wasn't motivated by revenge. He said Hillary Clinton should be investigated for her emails because she destroyed something like 30,000 public records. And then he even said on stage, she goes, well, it's a good thing you're not president. And he goes, yeah, because you'd be in jail. Then he gets elected and he goes, I'm not going to pursue Hillary Clinton. Because he wasn't motivated by revenge. He was motivated by, okay, look, I'm president. Let me clean things up. What he didn't realize is that behind the scenes, these people were plotting to destroy him. And we got the Russiagate hoax, the Ukrainegate hoax. And because Trump sat back thinking they would play fair, he got bounced around, smacked around, and then defeated. If Trump comes back in, he's going to be like, I'm not falling for that again. You're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Get out. And he's going to fire all of these trash administrative state officials, the people who get hired in the intelligence agencies, who never get elected, who never rotate. They're there for 20 years and they dictate what the office does. He's going to walk in and say, everyone out. I'm done. I don't think DeSantis would do that. That's why I think there's pros and cons. DeSantis, he's really good. He's a fighter. He's young. He speaks better. He's got more tact. He's got military experience. He's got legal experience. All of that's really, really great. And maybe that is, I'm kind of like, between the two of them, I think we'll be good. I just think what would probably be a little bit better, someone coming in and cleaning house. And if Donald Trump came in office and said, listen, everyone's fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. You crossed me, you crossed the American people. I'll give you an example. Did you know that Donald Trump was trying to withdraw our troops from Syria? And a ranking official lied to him and the American people so that we could keep troops in Syria without the American people or the president knowing. The commander in chief, duly elected, said, get our troops out. And he goes, don't worry, we got them all out. And he goes, okay. And it was a lie. That's the kind of BS game they play. So if Donald Trump got elected and all he did was say, you're fired, everyone's fired. And then he went, I resign. I'd standing ovation if that's all he did. If he got the economy back on track like he did in 2018 and 2019, then I'd just be like, all right, I'll take it. And then we can have Ron DeSantis or somebody else.
And VP?
I don't know who he's going to have as his VP. I don't know if DeSantis would do it. Some people have suggested Ron DeSantis. Like a Trump DeSantis ticket is like, that's a power ticket. I mean, that's victory right there. But DeSantis is too much of an alpha. I mean, he's a good leader. I don't see him as a VP. I see him as a president. And I don't know if he's going to want to be a VP. Some say he can be Trump's VP for one term, then run and win and get, 2 more presidential terms. And that would be really great for us. So maybe that's what should happen. I don't know, though. I don't know. What do you guys think?
VP's at a massively alpha position. It's just not the same alpha as the president. And there will be situations where the president can overrule you, but you're the president of the Senate, basically, if you're the VP.
Right, that's true. Yeah, DeSantis as president of the Senate is huge. Tiebreaker and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know for sure, man. One thing I will say is part of me just would prefer DeSantis because of he's just better across the board, in my opinion. But I don't know if he's going to go in and fire the people who need to be fired. That scares me. Because they'll screw him over the same way they did Trump if he's not careful. But Trump is just going to go in and be like, get out.
DeSantis just watched Trump get railroaded by what is essentially a permanent state. So I don't think that he would be walking into it with his eyes shut by any means.
That's true.
I think that he's hard enough. He's hard as nails. That man is legit. I think he would be able to walk in and say, you know what? You're all fired. Every single one of you, all of the aides, all of the assistants, get out. I want no one left in this White House, whatever region he's talking about. I want nothing left.
That might be bad because remember in Iraq when my own country invaded that country and destroyed the Ba'ath Party, Saddam's political party, they basically fired them all. And then they became Al-Qaeda. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it was the Taliban. But what happened, I got them mixed up because the media is like, and then there's ISIS. Oh, another one. But what happened was they fired all these political state officials, administrative state, and then they became a terrorist organization that worked like a covert government. And that's what, if we went in and fired their people, they're like us, they're sitting there, they need a paycheck, they have families.
So where would people who were fired from the White House go? I think I know exactly where they would go. They would go into the media, and I don't think the media is possible. It's possible for it to be any more compromised than it already is.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Right.
Like the intelligence agents get jobs at MSNBC and
Exactly.
CNN, but so what? Their ratings are in the gutter. They can, you know what I'd love to see? It's like, 5 years after Trump is president or whatever, and you go to see a movie like, Avengers, New Avengers, and you're like really excited, and there standing behind the counter is like a bunch of DOD officials, and they're like, would you like butter on your popcorn, sir?
Yeah, Mark
Yes,
Milley.
put butter on my popcorn, Millie.
I think the job economy is redundant. Maybe not redundant. This is a Federal Reserve doctrine to make sure that everyone has a job. They want people doing stuff. So like they want one guy to dig a hole then the other guy to go fill the hole back up. And then they're going to print some fake money and then give people fake money that they're going to have to pay them back at interest. So the Fed makes out, the Federal Reserve. But they've just got people busy. And it doesn't mean just because we don't have to be doing job. Like, stuff has to get done, but it doesn't. The idea that everyone has to have a job is kind of has to be redefined.
Well, I don't agree. People have to provide a service to other people in exchange for goods.
Produce like momentum of some sort, whether that's your own body heat.
But this is
like metaverse. This is like World Economic Forum stuff. They talk about extracting the heat from your piezoelectric force, like getting the human body vibrating, and they're catching the electricity from the vibration. And they really they call them a useless class of people. What are we going to do with these useless people? This is Yuval Noah Harari talks about this. They really think that bodies in vats, and
so.
And just,
Greta Thunberg is wrong. She says there cannot be endless economic growth because she doesn't know what the metaverse is. In digital spaces, I was playing this game on my phone where it's like you have a little golf ball and you pull back to change the strength and you try and punt it into a little hole or whatever.
Golfing
Such
with friends?
A fun game. Is that what it's called?
I don't know. There's one on Steam.
No, but I don't know. It's like it goes in and then you're like, yeah, I got a hole in one. And you can buy power-ups. You can buy different color golf balls. There's nothing happening when I buy that golf ball for $2. It's just like a piece of code says, make it orange. But someone got $2 for it. There can be endless economic growth that doesn't destroy the country through virtual spaces. That's easy. Like, if you ever played World of Warcraft or any other online video game and you sold a weapon to somebody or something, you're like, yeah, I'll trade it to you. Here's $20, something like that.
In a way, the job economy is kind of the way that the Federal Reserve Bank for International Settlements system is making sure people aren't going crazy. They want them on the grid. They want them on paper to see they're still playing our game. They're still not attempting to subvert us, but they don't have to be doing it. They just want to make sure that they're there and they're able to see them.
The times there are changing. I don't know, man.
They are. I mean, when you mentioned Greta, that was very good, by the way.
How dare you?
How dare you? I mean, I think to myself, there are actual experts who know about climate, and why aren't we listening to them?
Dude, but are you familiar with graphene?
Here we go.
You can withdraw it from the atmosphere from the carbon dioxide. They say there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and there's too much methane. You can get it from methane too. You deposit it onto palladium, and then you extract the carbon, and then you have pure graphene powder, which I have right here. Basically, you can mine the air, and you can reduce carbon emissions and turn it into graphene and then use it as building materials. That's blatantly obvious, but we need more people talking about it in government.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't serve their interest. There's a meme going
and
around.
Nuclear power and, I mean, you just look at energy. I mean, I've been talking with farmers recently and people in the Midwest, and, they're really struggling. Not, oh my God, I'm only going to be able to get 3 vanilla lattes this week instead of 2. It's like they're really struggling. But the elite liberals, they just don't seem to give a rat's arse. Am I allowed to say rat's arse? Or should I say ass?
That's even better.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's like batting ambidextrously.
Is that a cricket reference or a baseball reference?
It was baseball. I never played cricket before. Have you?
Anyone for cricket? I have. I played when I was younger, and then revisited recently when I was in India.
Swelling.
Yes.
Seamus plays stickball.
That's right.
Tell us
That's
about
right.
that, Seamus.
I don't even know what that is.
Say something witty about stickball.
There's just nothing. I know. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
you guys want to play stickball?
You guys want to go over
Hey,
to
let's go to Super Chats. You guys want to go to Super Chats?
Super Chats.
If you haven't already, would you kindly smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com to become a member. In the top right of the screen is a little sign up button. We're going to have a members only show coming up at about 11 p.m. tonight. You don't want to miss it. We do that Monday through Thursday. Let's read what y'all have to say. All right, Dr. Rollergator. He says, hi, Greg, you're the best. There you go. You're the best.
Thank you, Dr. Rollergator. I hope you're back on Twitter. He got banned from
Yeah,
Twitter.
he's still not back on.
Yeah.
Well, maybe once Elon gets in, it'll be like, that scene in Avengers when they open all the portals and everyone comes out to fight Thanos.
I hope so.
Elon's voting Republican, apparently.
I know.
I know. Ooh, he's going to get has he been cancelled
They're
yet?
trying.
He hasn't tweeted in a week. I heard.
Oh, wow.
They're trying hard.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Could
All
he be
right.
put in Twitter jail?
Maybe.
Ooh, I don't know. I hope
Anyway,
not.
yeah.
Technically, yeah.
All right, let's see. John Kirsten says, Tim, great showing against Ben Burgess. When a high school dropout intellectual destroys a so-called professor of philosophy. He's a professor of philosophy, not physiology. And do you mean intellectually destroys or a high school dropout intellectual? I'm not sure, but I get what you're saying. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was great. He's referring to, I mean, I'll just put it this way. I'm glad we did the event and I'm glad Ben was there. Ben perfectly exemplified the corporate press versus the independent media in that his position was, my ideology is good, therefore your reporting harms that, meaning you're reporting bad. Whereas James and I are both like, is X true? Very big difference and very easy for people to understand. So I appreciate him going there because I'm sure he thinks he's right and that's fine. And I'm sure many people agree with him. And I'm sure there are many people who can see exactly what the point James and I are trying to make. Is a thing true? It's not relevant to the ideologues.
Is he saying it doesn't matter if X is true because you're coming from a place of W or P that doesn't come before X? Like you just,
it doesn't matter.
Your framework is wrong.
It doesn't matter if what you're saying is true because you made a video attacking unions and your goal was to hurt my ideology.
Okay.
And my attitude is like, is X true? I don't care about your ideology. Mm-hmm. And James's attitude is like, is a thing true? I feel like James is very just anti-establishment and anti-authoritarian. And so when the establishment is dominated by the left, they assume like he must be a conservative. He's probably a conservative, but I'm like going after Google and Facebook. I'm like, are those left-wing organizations? Yes, apparently so. Well, then so be it.
The nice thing is, though, is he I don't think he doesn't really go after stuff as much as people come to him when something crazy happens.
Yeah, like the Amy Rohrbeck stuff, the Epstein stuff. It's like, was that a conservative thing? He just did a sting operation on a Republican. And I'm like, do any of these lefties know that he just secretly recorded in a Republican, field campaign office or something? Like, whatever.
I'd like to get Ben and James together to follow up on that.
I'm not sure that will happen.
Maybe not, but it would be nice because I thought it was rushed. Ben was kind of, wasn't expecting the conversation, and it'd be cool to go deeper.
All right. Thick Hummadog says, Tim, next time you're in Austin, schedule with Drinkin' Bros. Your episode with Dan was great, and many of their listeners would subscribe to you too. Next time I'm in Austin, if it's on the weekend, because I work all weekdays. Cliff Lee says, at the Mines event, I was sitting in front of the guy screaming, "Fire Tim Pool." Was someone screaming that? I don't know. And I have the whole video from Zimmerman. I can show it to you right now. Said he works for Vox. Asked him to show me the video. He declined. I didn't hear anybody yell anything like that, so I don't know.
It was at a different panel. He was very
was it?
confused. No, I'm kidding.
It probably was, because I don't think anybody yelled unless we can't hear him.
Fire Tim Pool.
Fire him from what?
Fire,
yeah, exactly.
Tim Pool. There's a comma there, Fire Tim Pool.
I thought you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
It's like the
Apparently it was okay the whole time.
Remember the Lionel Hutz Simpsons joke? Where
That's right.
What did the card say? It was like,
let me look that up.
Yeah, look up. That one was really funny. But he drew in the commas to change what it said.
It was a good moment.
Yeah. Did you find it?
It says works on contingency, no money down, and then it's works on contingency question mark no, comma money down. Pretty good.
No question mark.
This guy didn't have the punctuation in there.
All right. Kennedy Anarchist says, Tim, regarding your plan to launch small shows through the Timcast banner, there's a YouTube channel I found called The Meaning of Nerd. His stuff is really good, and I think you'll like him for his for this idea of yours. I think he even made a video on your song once. I think I did see that. It was very good. I'll check it out. All right. Contrary says, hey, Tim, hope you're well. Wanted to say you should invite comedian Christopher Titus and his crew. I feel you both could get into some good debate. I mean, we could. There's a challenge. I feel like I could be wrong about this, but isn't he just like just virtue signaling on Twitter? Like he doesn't really know what he's talking about?
Yeah, that's Twitter.
Pretty much.
Oh, I don't know if he is or not.
No, I mean, like there are some people who make an argument left or right. And then there are some comedians and celebrities who just post regurgitated nonsense.
Very tedious.
Yeah. So I don't know if like...
Yeah, but let's not let Twitter stop us from communicating with people.
I've heard him argue with Steven Crowder. He's not a nice guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't like...
I've seen his show in the 90s, and I thought it was relatively interesting.
Didn't he get like one season that was canceled?
Yeah,
or something?
probably. Titus, it was called.
I haven't heard his name since the 90s.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Or a couple times.
All right. Brian David says, is there a practical difference between Maximilian Robespierre and Karl Marx? I mean, Karl Marx was like a spoiled racist rich kid who was like writing his, ideology, and Robespierre was like, I want to kill everybody. So
Not at first. At first, he was the man of the people, all about freedom and down with the monarchy, and we're going to change this for the better. He was a lawyer.
Here's
And then
the
he
thing,
was just
though.
like-
Almost everyone who tells you they're like a man of the people and
Yeah.
love humanity is
He went
got some
sideways.
Off with their head.
You guys got to look into Robespierre. He was the downfall, both the inception and the downfall of the French Revolution.
I think it's a line from Dostoevsky, but he says something like, the more I love humanity, the more I love man as a whole, the less I care for him as an individual, something like that.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, that's exactly how these people are. I love humanity in the abstract, but they treat everyone around them horribly, and they're fine, quote unquote, cracking a few eggs to make the omelet, right?
Nick V says, can you touch upon the nude men exposing themselves at pride parades around the country this month? This month? Have you ever been to a pride event? This has been going on my entire life. I've been to a bunch. I've fundraised for organizations at pride events. Yeah, that's a common occurrence.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not a dystopia. This is just reality. It's always been like this. Now it's televised.
As long as I've been alive, these events have always included overt sex acts. I should say, like, I've never seen people performing activities on each other. They've simulated them. So I should say simulated sex
Did you
acts.
see the guy with the big penis head?
I didn't know. I saw the
Putting it
naked
in
guy with the sock on his parts, on his John Thomas, as we call it, from where I'm from. Yeah, I used to go to gay pride occasionally in West Hollywood, and yes, there was all that going on. I mean, I remember seeing kids. That's
You don't remember seeing kids?
I don't remember seeing kids, but that might have just been my lens, not But recently, I mean,
There's a lot of kids there.
it seems to be more that way,
Yep.
and it's not, I worry for, there are certain things that our kids shouldn't be, but then again, who is it up to me or is it up to the parent of the kids, and ultimately it is.
Oh, yeah. And look, agreed. The issue is that as a culture, we've lost any sense of direction, and parents don't care about what their kids are being exposed to, and there's no values. So,
And those that do care don't get, I mean, you look at Loudoun County, I mean, those that do care don't really have a say, and they've found out what their kids are being taught, and it's not good. The education system is pretty flawed, I would say,
A little bit.
here in the United States of America, which I love, but
The public schooling system's just built to make factory workers for the most part.
Oh, I mean,
Well-
so I think it was 6-7 years ago, phenomenological-based learning was introduced in Finland. The world leader in education, and then a couple of years ago, they introduced critical thinking into the curriculum rather than critical race theory. It's like, let's teach our kids how to critically think, and let's teach our kids how to think, not tell them what to think. That's important.
Yeah. You made the point, you mentioned that you felt it was maybe a little ironic that you love this country and hate the educational system. I think that's perfectly consistent. Our system is downright un-American, unironically enough. All the values it promotes are like totally antithetical to what this country is supposed to be about and what it's supposed to mean.
It was built around the time they established the Federal Reserve, the bankers and investitures.
we've got Tony Secchia saying, what do you think of the leaked Project Veritas audio of SC Senate candidate Crystal Matthews? Crystal or Crystal?
I think it's Crystal.
Crystal? It's spelled like Crystal. Matthews calling for drug money, far left sleepers, and fraud. Did you guys see this one?
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude, we're
Crazy.
she's a leaked audio where she's calling someone saying they need sleepers in the Republican Party to destroy them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I just
Crazy.
saw that. Yeah, that's...
And who was she? The girl that was calling?
Senate candidate.
Senate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nick,
it was
they were
worse than
asking-
that. I mean, she said that, but she also said, like, basically, I don't care, and anyway, I'm not going to say what she said because you can
Bad
check
stuff.
it out. It
People
wasn't
can
good.
find it.
Last
Yes.
time
right,
they
let's-
asked for a sleeper, they got Joe Biden. Am I right?
Nick V says, do you know that Tim does a great Captain Sparrow impression? I
Let's hear
didn't
it.
know that.
Oh, I did not know the idea.
He's
Let's
saying you
hear it,
drink too
Tim.
much.
Oh, wow.
Tim Poole, I want to hear it from you.
I actually drank. I had, I think, an ounce of champagne. Oh, no. I had a glass because we were filming and I had to because we were doing
It all starts with that little white lie.
White lie. I'm not outright saying I drank.
It just starts with one. Just first it was a little bit. Now it's a whole glass.
Now it's a whole glass.
What's happening?
Well,
Tim, why are you
it was
misrepresenting the
two
amount you
glasses.
drank? I don't
It was two glasses.
The
But like
story
two
deepens.
big ones, basically a bottle.
A bottle.
So
Well, I mean, like, 2 bottles.
it was like a couple bottles.
I just chugged them.
It was
No,
more
I
than
had
two
like a glass. I had like a glass. I would say a full glass. We were filming a thing where we had to like party. It was fun.
You
But
were
there it is.
filming and you were drinking alcohol?
Yeah, we had a limo, and there was champagne in the limo, so we were filming, and we had to like crack it open and pour it.
Because ordinarily when we film with, it's not, and it's alcohol. We wouldn't drink alcohol, but you saw that as an opportunity to be method. You were a method actor.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't have any fake booze in the
Okay,
in the limo.
fair enough.
The crazy thing is we got a limo and had Bud Light. It's like
Ew.
9 a.m. and Seamus was like, I'll have a beer at 9 a.m. And I was like, Seamus.
Allison and I were like, this is insane that there's alcohol in a moving vehicle. Like, when are you ever going to have that opportunity to be like, oh, we'll have a sip in a moving vehicle?
And
That's
then
kinda
Seamus
crazy.
was like, we're degenerates.
And then I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever done.
9 a.m.
It was kind of crazy,
Breakfast
though, too.
beer.
Also, I was like, look, I know that Tim spent a lot on this limo. We got to take advantage of
Money's
The
worth.
beer
Yeah.
cost extra, Seamus.
Exactly. Well, if you would have told me that, Tim, wouldn't have had any.
All right, let's see. Nick S. says, Tim, you broke your wrist demanding pictures of Spider-Man, didn't you? Carter did what's called a Misty flip into our new airbag. It's a front flip and a 180. So he like front flips and then lands going backwards. And then I went up behind him and just did a basic jump, but then I slipped out and fell and busted both of my wrists. Can you see the palm of my hand?
Oh, yeah.
It's all red. Well, no, all the red scrapes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I've got it's like bleeding.
Did you get the fall on video?
No.
Dang.
Boo.
Yeah, my brother was filming and he filmed Carter do the front flip 180, and then I was like, I just went up and went around. I was just doing just jumping the gap, and then I slammed. And I was like, well, at least did you get it? And he goes, I don't know, I wasn't filming. I
Gotta
was like,
film the crashes too.
you got to film all of it,
for
man.
posterity.
Fireblade says, thanks for your support of J.K. Rowling, Mr. Ellis, and your voice work in Dragon Age was astounding. I'll always be a Cullenite. Oh, you did you voice Dragon Age Inquisition?
Yeah, in all the Dragon Age series, I'm the voice of Commander. Well, in fact, in the first game, I think it was Anders, but for the preceding games, it was Commander Colin Rutherford. Oh. And it was actually, they're referencing the Colonites I created for the fan base. I created what I call the Colonites, and JK would post these pictures, these drawings, illustrations by young kids, and I thought that was marvelous. And Ian Hersher supported JK. So it was a couple of years ago. Myself and Clancy Brown is an actor. You probably saw him in The Shawshank Redemption as Captain Hadley and various other movies. I just basically said I support strong women like JK Rowling and Ian Hersher, and then and Clancy retweeted that, and suddenly we were transphobes and racists and a whole bunch of things. So. It was quite odd, but J.K. Rowling's quite a very successful woman, and shouldn't we be cheering successful women, or is that a bad thing to do?
Yeah, well, she's a great author, but I don't know about screenplays. I wasn't a fan of the Fantastic Beasts series.
Did she write? I didn't know because she doesn't write all the Harry Potter screenplays, does she?
I don't think she does.
No.
She wrote the books, and then they were.
Yeah.
I could be wrong though. But Dragon Age Inquisition, amazing game.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. I haven't played it in a
Origins
while.
was spectacular too, I thought.
When's the next one coming out? I
don't know.
read
I
about it
know
a while
there
ago.
was one.
I won't
Is
be
there-
in it.
You won't be in it?
No, I'm not going to be in it.
Is there a reason why? They canceled
well, that whole situation. No, they can't. Well, the fan base is pretty. Well, they were very strong in their opinions, and they, believed that I was this rabid transphobe and racist, and I went toe to toe with it. It was actually a producer called Mark Dara. I think it was Mark Dara, and he would find these little Twitter threads and post BioWare's values are reflected in our games, and when we announce the voiceover, I'm thinking. Your values, because I've worked with this company for many years, so I called him out, and of course, that just got me the ire.
He didn't hire you again after that?
Here's the thing: it's not where he didn't hire me. I wouldn't have done the game anyway.
Good for you.
You know,
Good for
I don't
you.
have
Yeah.
a contract. I don't have a franchise contract, and I've never said this till now.
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't want to work with him and
Yeah.
that company. It's like you don't get to go around and just besmirch people's character and infer that I am the very thing that a few people have called me are.
Yeah.
I know who I'm not. So shut your gob. If you want to talk, he could have come, he could have had a private message with me. He could have emailed me, he could have called
Yep.
me, he could have said, and of course the irony is that, there's so many people who are getting fired in companies like that because of inhumane resources, because identity politics devours itself. So, and people are afraid in my industry in Hollywood to speak about it, because you speak about it, then suddenly, oh, you're one of them. Well, you know what? There isn't a them and us. There's a whole populace of people with different and varying opinions on different subjects and issues, and let's have a conversation.
Well, you made a point about the fact that he didn't reach out to you in private, and that kind of thing is so scummy to go to the public with an issue that you have with a person who you know before speaking with them.
And it wasn't
about
even in public as well. It was like little private little Twitter threads, and this kind of stock statement from the company was coming up. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't rip yourself apart for politics. BioWare is such a good development company for like 20. I mean, the Baldur's Gate. This is like Black Isle Entertainment. I think they worked with back in the day. Yeah. To see it to lose its best voice talent, because the voice acting, video games are merging with movies. Interactive movies are the future of entertainment, and you need a good voice actor. If you don't have good voice acting, don't do voice acting. You need it. It is casting your stars, and man, politics aside, get the best actors.
I agree. Who is the best person for the job? And with that situation, but I love working with BioWare. I've done over 130 video games and quite a few with them. I love working with them. It was this loud minority of rabid fans who just wanted to create this furor about me and label me as someone I wasn't. And then what was disappointing was the company, this huge corporation who made billions of dollars in this game, didn't either just stay silent or reach out to me privately and go, hey, you know what, this is a bit, and went after me with like on little. I'm like, just no character.
You know what? We are developing a video game, and we will be kind enough to give you a speaking role in it.
What character will I play?
So it's not.
Can't tell you.
It's not that kind of game. I'm half kidding. It's like a platformer roguelike game.
Like,
so it's very simple.
Yeah. What?
Oh, the library.
No. It should be the chickens. So South Park is famous for whenever they get a celebrity guest, they make them do like a dog or a chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but we are making a video game. We'll show you. It's nothing like Dragon Age. It's like a top-down platformer roguelike game. So it's like
cool.
I don't want to say too much because it's not. But we got a lot of stuff developed on it. It's pretty fun so far. And then we'll show it to you. There's no real voice roles or anything in it. It's just like, maybe grunts and jumps.
Do you have any gigs lined up that you can talk about in the gaming industry?
Do you know what? The gaming industry has become so NDA heavy. There's one I'm working on right now. Given the current conversation, I've been working on it for 2 years. I would love to talk about it. I can't. But hopefully at some stage I'll be able to.
Awesome.
They are, I've voiced about 32 characters. It's a very successful, well-known in one game. Yeah.
Whoa.
The weirdest thing is when you get, because I've done a lot of cartoons.
Is it like 32 brothers or something? Or
no, all
voice,
completely different voices. Yeah.
Wow.
It is when you have a conversation with yourself in animation, in a scene. So you might be doing 2 or 3 characters.
Yeah.
So you actually read through the 2 or 3 patterns very fast, and you switch from voice to voice and inflection. Is that something you do, Shane?
Yeah. So I have a small business in animation production, and we run a channel called Freedom Tunes, and I basically do all the voices. Except for
Small
Tim will
business.
gust is
Well,
so Freedom Tunes is one of the things we do, but we basically have there's a couple other clients we serve. Like Freedom Tunes is it's like sort of what I put my heart and soul into. Yeah, do almost all the voices. So yeah, that is fun. It's tough though, because like sometimes you almost want to do the voices separately, so you like keep the exact, because when you're switching from voice to voice, sometimes the voice like loses a little bit of its
That's
strength.
the sign of a good professional voice actor. Many people can do it for a few seconds or a sentence or two as rote and learning. But how can you stay in character? How can you keep that,
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever's the kind of voice you're doing, you
Yeah,
have to stay with it for a while. You can't just kind of, hello, Timple, how are you?
Actually,
You're
very
going to
offensive.
do impersonations?
That's very offensive.
No, impersonations are not. There are guys in the video game and voiceover world who are amazing, like the Jeff Bennett and Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, Robin Maurice are the voice of Pinky in the Brain. Frank Welker's another one, a living legend, a true living legend of voiceover. Impersonations is not, and then there's people like D. Bradley Baker, who's the monster and creature sound. Like I've worked with D for years.
He was also Batman, wasn't he?
Did he do no, that was Diedrich Bader. I did the series with Diedrich, the Batman, the Brave and the Bold, I think was called, where I played the Gentleman Ghost and Cavalier and Dr. Fate. And Dr. Fate was kind of like this. Dr. Fate, only the hand of Dr. Fate can save you. So, but many of these voices, they just come in the moment. They will just say, okay, we got 3 more characters. We're on page 29. It's what's it, Mr. Mind or Professor Mind? I forget the name. I'm going to upset all of the people. It's a classic Warner Brothers character, but you have to just come up with a voice in the moment, and kind of go to your Rolodex or library of voices, and just kind of see. Sometimes you get an image of the character, and you'll have a little character breakdown, and what do you see? What's your interpretation in your mind?
Yeah, I'm the voice of Dr. Fauci.
Dr. Fauci and
but
my
he's not really
cartoons.
prominent in the media anymore.
Not anymore. So
that
Tim
How
rolls
does he
right
sound
up.
right now?
Going
Because he's got
bankrupt.
COVID, doesn't he? Doctor?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I can do Fauci these days. It's been a long time.
It's been too long.
It's been too long.
It's funny you mentioned that. That's always been one of the struggles for me. Like I have a number of established characters with unique voices, but like coming up with a new voice for a random side character stuff. And we do so for the Freedom Tunes channel, we do a cartoon every week, sometimes two. And so I'm not always able to throw everything into a brand new voice and end up reusing them. But one thing I have found really helps me, and this is a tip I heard a voice actor say in an interview, is doing an impression badly, and it ends up sounding like its own new unique voice. Yeah.
It's really good. There was one show I did, Transformers, where I came onto the show. It had already been recorded, and the great Tim Curry was the voice of Dr. Morocco in Transformers, the animated Rescue Bots it was called. And he got sick and he couldn't carry on. And the voice director kind of knew that I might be able to match him. And his kind of Dr. Morocco, chewy kind of voice. And it was almost like three voices in one, where he goes nasally there, and then only the hand of Dr. Morocco. That was Kamala Harris as Dr. Morocco. So how can you almost like a bad impersonation or somewhat good impersonation of someone famous? Pulling from that.
All right, let's read some more. We got Evangelize to the World says, "Hey, it's Commander Giles Price. Red Alert 3 is a fantastic game. Love the cheesy scenes." Wow, Red Alert.
I remember that. That was we filmed that. I filmed that in costume. It was rare for a video game. Getting in costume with camera and actually filming like a movie and doing scenes, and that's rare in video.
Yeah,
games.
it was like one of the first games I remember having.
Oh, did you play? You played it?
Command and Conquer, Red Alert.
See, I haven't
All of
played
them,
hardly
of
any
course.
of the games that I've. I remember going to a Dragon Age convention and playing with myself. The character, I mean, not playing. Yeah. And with the fans. It was. I was like, wow, this game is, because I grew up on Asteroids and stand-up video arcade games like Defender, Track and Field, and all Pac-Man, and so to see the how it had becomes the games are phenomenal. I think to a degree that kind of bridge between the virtual reality of being in a video game with its own set of belief systems and values, how and particularly with the younger generation disappearing into those games and device dependency, how do you get your value system back in the real world? It must be challenging at times because you can get lost in that video game. It's so believable.
Oh yeah,
right?
Dragon Age was amazing. Let's just read as many as we can. We can get some more super chats in. Cringe Inc. says, "Did you see Dankula's troll tweet earlier today? Justice Dankula was comedy gold." So Count Dankula
That was very funny. The Justice
photoshopped
Dankula.
an image for his Twitter profile of him wearing a judge's robe with nice hair, changed his name to Justice Dankula, and started tweeting things like, he said, "I hereby declare the Itty Bitty Titty Committee to be a terrorist organization." And people thought he was actually a Supreme Court justice. And they're tweeting at him like, "You'll regret what you did overturning Roe v. Wade," or stuff like that. And it's just remarkable, exposing these people having no idea what they're protesting. It was like it's Dankula? There's no Supreme Court justice named Dankula. But they thought it was true.
That's
there
from
is
Dank
now.
Weed, by the way.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the whole joke.
Dankula. It was amazing. I thought it was fantastic. All right, let's grab some more. Pursuit of Happiness says, "Tim, according to the Fraser Institute, West Virginia ranks 47th in economic freedom in the U.S., beating only New York, California, and Vermont. Help us change this." I will. I've actually, I found some things in West Virginia to be restrictive, which is surprising, but it's better than Maryland.
That is surprising. I had no idea they ranked that low.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, what is their criteria for economic freedom? Because we've been setting up the new headquarters. It's so easy relative to other places I've been.
Well, that's because you're breaking the law, though.
Oh yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Nope.
We waited 6 months for an internet permit.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
An internet permit.
And they were supposed to wait
build,
12.
to build an internet line.
Oh.
It's been 6 months, and then they're finally like, "It's been approved," and now it's like, "But we have no materials." It's like, wow. So we could have the new HQ built within the next 2 months and have no internet and not be able to move until we get it set up.
Hear that,
Yeah.
Elon? Send that Starlink
Oh, we have
over.
Starlink. We
Oh,
do.
really?
Yeah, it's just not good enough.
Hear
So-
that, Elon?
We do have two Starlink. We have two Starlink, and we can bond them together for a whopping 8 megabits up. Not
Starlink bondage is not enough.
Not enough. Not enough, and I would be surprised if we actually got 8 because we're gonna have two satellites relatively close together or 2 dishes, and you're probably gonna get a marginal return by bonding the 2 of them.
When you talk about more than one Starlink, do you say Stars Link or Starlinks?
Attorneys
Starlink.
generals? What?
Attorneys General. Yeah. All right, let's grab some more. Calvin Ram says, Tim, you claim that Biden is a puppet and reads note cards, which is true, but then hoist the idea that he's mumbled an order out of Iraq. Confused. I didn't say he was a puppet. We talked about him reading the cards, but having people give you cards to explain what you're supposed to do doesn't mean that you're working for someone. I think it's likely that Joe Biden, like, people are watching him being like, I don't care what he says or does. I'm not him. He's responsible for it. He's taking the fall for everybody.
Also, are these the cards we're talking about with like you sit in the chair?
Yeah.
That's not working for someone. That's like having an aide. If you're working for someone who's telling you to do that, that is horrific micromanagement. Like you sit in that chair and shake that. It's just
Do you
the man
think
doesn't
so,
know
or
where
do
he
you
is.
think that as president, you do need a little direction? You do need to know at certain points, okay, this is the moment you do this. Otherwise, because you have to get through the criteria of the day and
Yeah, I think he needs a lot of direction, which is the difference. I agree. Like a president does need a little direction. This guy, I don't even know where to begin.
All right, let's see. Jake Turbin says, sent out a super chat earlier. Just want my name read on here for my wife. Haha. Congratulations.
There you go.
I don't know, you guys, says, dude, Ian, you need to chill on your Adderall hate. Some of us legitimately have a very hard time with executive function without it.
Do you think it's ethical to give 14-year-olds amphetamines?
I don't.
I want to hear from the guy that just made that tweet. What was his
Garrett,
name?
I don't know you guys. Was his name?
Yeah, I don't know you guys.
Garrett says, BioWare is a zombie wearing the skin of its founders, the doctors. It's a bloody, horrible video game company now that couldn't write a meaningful sentence, let alone a paragraph.
how do you really feel?
Yeah,
That's
right.
pretty brutal.
Wow.
That's sad. Did they do that? What was that one game that flopped really bad? What was it? I can't think. It was a space game. You know what I'm talking about?
Which one? Oh, No Man's Sky? Is that?
No, that was bad,
the
though.
space one that
But they
flopped? That's the
recovered
only
No
one I can
Man's
think
Sky. It's way better now.
No, there was some video game about like people in outer space and they were aliens or something, and like everyone was
of.
making
Math
fun of it.
Blasters.
That game was
I
awesome.
remember that one.
Math Blaster when the aliens are trying to take your
Yes.
castle over.
And you have to solve the math equations.
Oh, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound exciting. Math blasters.
You know what though?
Oh,
As
number-
a
what
kid,
about
when you
Number
went to the
Muncher?
computer lab,
Number
and, like,
Muncher's
that-
hot. Crack the teeth on the wrong answer.
Number Muncher.
Dude, BioWare did Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2. Did you guys play those? One of the greatest video games ever made at that point in history. If you like role playing games, yeah, Baldur's Gate changed the world. It was like the introduction of Dungeons and Dragons into like a top-down isometric video game.
All right, we're going to go to the members only show. So head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work. And you will get access to the exclusive members only show, which will be up at about 11 p.m. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you like it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally on Timcast. Follow both accounts on Instagram. Greg, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, therespondent.com. That's really the place for everything to do with The Respondent, my book, The Respondent, Exposing the Cartel of Family Law. That has information about my charity, CPU, Children and Parents United. We're helping find relief for people stuck in the family law court system and calling out those who make false allegations of DV, as recently happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And my Twitter, Ellis Greg.
I'm Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes. We have a new website. It's called freedomtunes.com. If you go over there for $5 a month, you will get an extra cartoon each week. You'll also be supporting independent content. You also get behind the scenes stuff as well. I want to mention we did a video on Friday, which the audience has really seemed to enjoy. It's 5 minutes long. It's me reviewing pro-choicers and pro-abortion people freaking out over the Supreme Court decision. There is a 12-minute long version of that behind our paywall, far extended. So go over to freedomtunes.com if you want to see that. I love you all.
I'm really glad you're looking so deep into family law. I've been really harping on no-fault divorce these days, and recently found out that it was basically the Russian revolutionaries, the communists, Lenin and his friends, that established no-fault divorce. You know, what easy way to break up the family. Really
It's a good point, and it's just been introduced in the UK, and many people think it's a good thing, and it's not a good thing. And I was saying before the show, there's a reason that America is the world leader in children growing up in single-parent households. We have 4,000 children a day losing a parent in family law courts. The states are reimbursed $6,000 for every child they place into foster care. Law enforcement is incentivized by stop grants to keep the children in foster care, and then bonuses to move them into adoption. And all of this started, or much of it started, in 1974 by the twistedly named Violence Against Women Act, which was Joe Biden's legislation. And they've just renewed that. And it's a horrific situation for so many families across America, and it's only going to get worse in the UK.
Just to point out your book again, where can people get it?
They can find it at therespondent.com. They can also find it at any good bookseller, online or otherwise. And we also have, I should mention the community, the Respondent community, which I've started, which is a safe space for people who are stuck in the divorce trap, or have been alienated from their children, or children alienated from their parents. And really just giving some hope, I think, that's why I wrote the book. I didn't want to write the book; I had to write the book, and to let a lot of people who are stuck in the system know that they're not alone. The other day I had a phone call from. Well, I got an email. I get emails every day. But it was an email from a vet. He lost his arms and his legs in an IED. He's laying in hospital, and he gets served a false allegation of domestic violence. I call it the silver bullet of domestic violence. He comes back to America in a wheelchair, no arms, no legs, and for the last 8 years he's been fighting himself, representing himself in family court, and he's homeless. These stories are not random stories. There are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people, parents, mostly forsaken fathers and dads or spouses that are going through this, and a lot of women and mothers too. And for some reason, it's the national health emergency that nobody seems to be talking about, because if we can bring jurisprudence and the presumption of innocence into family law, we can provide parents and families the same rights that criminals, terrorists, pedophiles, murderers get. And you would think that families should have that in America, of all places. This isn't a left versus right issue. This is a fundamental human rights issue. And this is what I talk about a lot of the time. And hopefully we can bring about change. We are bringing about change. We've got some, I've been working with the legislature in Ohio. We're bringing in 50-50 shared parenting there. It's the third state to do that. Wow. We're going to move to Missouri next, and then Oklahoma, and keep going. But there's so much work to be done. So the Respondent and the Respondent community is the place for people, anyone interested in that, to help out.
Thanks, man.
Wow. That, I just want to say, it's like the most important thing anyone has said all show, and it came at the very end, which is why you want to watch to the end, folks.
That's right. Gotta watch it all the way through to the end. Yeah, his book looked really amazing. He also got Johnny Depp and Alec Baldwin to endorse it, which is really interesting combination of people. So yeah, go ahead and go over and check that out for sure. That sounds really important. You guys can follow me on Twitter and minds.com at Sarah Patchlids and sarahpatchlids.me.
All right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye, guys.